Okay, let's do some sound checks. Can you guys hear me? Am I too loud? Is my game volume too loud? Am I wrecking your ears? What's going on? Hello, folks. Can anybody hear me? Sweet. Fantastic. So, a question for you guys. Do you hear any game volume? You should be hearing game music from the main menu right now, if I got the setup correctly, and it hopefully is not echoing. Do you guys, so you guys hear me and a little bit of game music? And is the volume, are we at a good balance? Do I need to crank up myself, crank up game music, crank down one or the other? What are we at? Do you hear any game volume? You should be hearing game music from the main menu right now, if I got the setup correctly, and it hopefully is not echoing. So you guys hear me and a little bit of game music? And is the volume, are we at a good balance? Do I need to crank up myself, crank up game music, crank down one or the other? Where are we at? Okay, tinkering with the game audio, see if I can get that working. It's really odd to find the balance here because I got to keep it really low for myself, but high for you guys. I'm trying to find the right settings here. And what is this nonsense? Get out of here. There we go. All right. Well, hopefully we're good. So I'm gonna just not getting the stream started directly. I'm just kind of getting a save set up. So I'll start the actual SS2 stuff once. Oh, I've got my stream playing on my phone. Once it hits 9 o'clock. But I started up a new save because I didn't have any clean saves with Workshop Framework started up, and that for a perfect clean save to have it load right with Workshop Framework, it's best to not even use a save from Nexus, just to start one yourself, just to make sure it's got Workshop Framework. But hello everybody. It's been a while since I've streamed. I've got myself like 6 glasses of water lined up, so hopefully I don't burn out my voice today. Alright, so we're going to go through and play all this boring stuff. So you guys got 9 minutes before the fun stuff starts. Hopefully I can finish the intro in 9 minutes. I don't know if that's possible or not. Yeah, speed run it. I'll see how I can do it. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. I played with the baby. Do I have to play with him twice? What am I supposed to do here? What are you guys doing? Huh? Come on. I already played with the baby. I'm bored. Oh, wait, I gotta spin. No, she tells you to spin the mobile, right? She just like appears behind you all of a sudden. There she goes. Teleport ninja wife.
Spin the mobile a bit. He loves that.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know this. I know there's the speed run where like you can throw things at the ground and hop through the wall in the vault. I have no idea how to do that. I'm not gonna try and figure it out.
I was thinking we could head to the park for a bit. Weather should hold up.
Yeah,
just gonna go. I went with default Nate, a whole bunch of charisma, and that's pretty much my build because I'm not interested in the character customization or any of that. I'm interested in showing off SS2 and all the stuff the team built on it, and hopefully in my save I hit that damn long-term save bug a lot of you guys are reporting on the forums, because I want that thing gone as quickly as possible. And I think if I have it happen in my own saves, it'll be easy for me to backtrack and see what the hell happened, because I cannot figure that out for the life of me from all the data you guys have sent.
I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York.
Well, I'm default Nate named King, so he got a slight upgrade. Okay, open the door. There we go. Give me that run.
Now.
You know what I just realized would be really fun and I should have installed is the C. Dante mod to let you push people, because it would be fun to push all these pre-war folks out of the way as you run to the vault. Like, sorry lady, me first. Knock her into the river. I'm going to do Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, because I've never done Chapter 1 on stream. I've done like the first... I think when we launched SS2, about a month afterward, I did a live stream where I played through the first 2 or 3 quests. But I never played through the whole thing. and I would like to, because it would be a good chance to find places we can smooth things out, show off any like little tips and tricks I know from deving the mod that you guys don't know, and I can talk about, you know, some of the background behind the dev of the mod, talk about some people who did stuff, some challenges we had, stuff like that. So hoping to keep it interesting. I will say that I am kind of glancing at chat right now, but I am horrendous at playing chat or looking at chat and talking about what I'm doing in the game. So format for the stream is likely going to be, I'm going to just ignore chat for most of the time and then play the game, talk about it, and then I'll probably take breaks, check on super chats, read those out, talk to you guys. But most of it will be just me trying to concentrate on actually playing, giving you guys interesting information. And then at the end, when I'm at a good stopping point, like after I finish, you know, 3 or 4 quests or whatever, when we get, I'm going to stream for probably 3.5 hours tonight. And when we get to a good stopping point, I'll just do Q&A. So then I'll just be like 100% engaged in chat, and I can show you guys stuff or just BS about whatever, answer your questions, stuff like that. But throughout most of the stream, I don't have it in me to do I'm not good at the paying attention to chat and doing stuff. So I'll be back in and out. But yeah, I linked in the description, hopefully I linked the right thing, a thread talking about how I plan to do this stream. It's super minimal load order. It's like workshop framework, HUD framework, SS2, chapter 2, and some F4SC plugins, and that's it. Mostly because I want to make sure that if I discover any bugs while I'm playing, I can 100% replicate them and fix them quickly. I had thought about playing with unofficial patch as well, but that introduces some wildcards as well that are difficult to deal with, so I'd rather just make sure that my saves can work for research, since we're still kind of in hotfix mode, and we probably will be for the next couple of weeks, because you guys are reporting so many bugs, which is awesome. I love getting those fixed out. I'm actually I'm really happy with how many people have messaged me saying they finished Chapter 2 already. That's pretty cool. I was a little worried that, because Chapter 1, it took a while before we got all the main quest bugs worked out. Now, I know we have a couple, but I think the majority of it's already playable. I think we had it figured out by the last hotfix, which was 2 days ago, yesterday, I don't remember. I'm losing track of time. It's all a blur now. Probably won't have another hotfix until, we might have one tomorrow, but otherwise probably won't be until after Christmas, because I got a lot of stuff going on with the family over the holidays. You can absolutely use unofficial patch. I'm just not using it because I want to make sure that if I'm fixing bugs, they're with SS2 or Chapter 2 and not with conflicts. Because if I start fixing things in the base mods because of conflicts, then it can cause like a cascade of other issues. So we have to do conflict fixes as patches, but so far, I mean, you guys look at the SS2 page. I think maybe we have one patch up there. I don't even know if we have any. We've not had to patch anything so far. We've been able to figure it all out with little hacks and scripts, and that's how I prefer it, because I'd rather just SS2 mods work with every mod. I just try and script the solution to everything. Welcome everybody who's popping in. This isn't official stream started yet. I'll do a proper intro, talk about the plans for the stream. Just leading up to this 9 o'clock, I'm trying to get through the pre-vault sequence here and just answering questions I happen to catch in the corner of my eye with the chat on. Z Games, I'm gonna let that play out in the Let's Play, because I don't want to spoiler anybody. But I'm sure somebody else can answer that for you if they don't mind slapping spoilers in the chat. Oh, Prophet, Conqueror. Conqueror is one of those like sad stories for me, because it's something that I got really into. It's what got me hyped about story content, and really like pushed. Once we hit the brakes on that, it pushed me to work really hard on SS2 with the team, because we'd kind of divided the dev team into two, and we had one little group working on Conqueror and everybody else working on SS2, and SS2 kind of was stalled. And Conqueror, I love that story, but it never got finished, which is really irritating to me. And now it's been so long that I don't even know if we can get all the voice actors back. But we had to hit the brakes on it, because the lead writer of it had a lot of real life stuff happen, and then COVID hit, and then it was just like, all right, I guess Conqueror's on ice for a while. Yeah, Indecisive, I am hoping I run into that if I had a hammer issue, just because so many people report it, and every time I go load up to test it, it doesn't happen for me. which is one of the most irritating things as developers when I can't duplicate stuff, because it's almost impossible to make fixes for stuff that I can't replicate. It's one of the problems with this like long save bug people are reporting to. Dude, I don't get it ever. No matter how many saves I try of your guys, even some saves. Somebody sent me a save with 20 city plans built. Saves are instant for me, so I'm just like, I don't know why. I don't know how to fix this. I can't even change anything and test if it made a difference. Oh man, I don't really actually, Raybo, do I have you set as a mod still? Because like I just realized it just gave me a pop-up asking me about marking somebody's chat as allowed because they used an F-bomb in it. So apparently, guys, just know that cursing apparently is set up to has to be approved, which is really weird. All right, so welcome everybody. 9 o'clock. So now we'll start this officially. Welcome to my Let's Play of SS2. We're gonna do Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and probably some of the big side quests. Like we'll probably do Gray Matters, Planet X, the CPD, Nightingales, and then I don't know if we'll do much after that. We'll see. Depends on how much fun we're having as a group. If people are engaging, everybody's showing up and having a good time, I'll keep doing it. But primarily the goal of this is to get through the whole story, show you guys it's possible, hopefully teach you guys some of the inside scoop of what's going on. And I'm doing this all with a super minimum load order, basically just SS2 Chapter 2 Workshop Framework. You can see a link to my full load order, which has got a couple extra things in it, at the top of the description. And my focus is going to be on just playing for a while. So like every day every Wednesday I'm going to stream, I don't know, 3-4 hours, depending on how I'm feeling that day. I'll probably do the first hour and a half to 2 hours of just playing, and I'll like barely pay attention to chat because I am horrible at multitasking. I'll start getting distracted on chat, and then my character will just sit here and get really boring for everybody. So I'm gonna try and answer super chats. They pop out nicely. I can see them in the corner of my eye there. So I see two. I will get to you guys shortly. All super chat money goes toward development of the mod. Like if we need to purchase stuff for it, like server stuff and assets, things like that. And then on some days I'll probably donate it all to charity. And I'll try and answer you guys in real time. If I can't, I will take a break, take a 10-minute break somewhere in the middle of the playthrough and answer those super chats. And then after I'm like at a good stopping point, after I finish a certain amount of quests or whatever, then I'll just do Q&A. And that'll be probably like every Wednesday I'll do that. So then I can just interact directly with you guys. It'll just hang out. And then for people who are just like, I just wanted to see the mod play, they can bail. And then the rest of you guys want to hang, we can just hang out and chat about the mod. I can show you guys stuff, talk about stuff that's coming, you know, within reason. I don't like giving away spoilers. As you guys know, I'm pretty tight-lipped about what we've got coming in the, next expansion, because obviously we've talked about doing a Chapter 3. But right now I am just playing through the pre-war sequence because, and this is a good tip for you all, if you want a absolute clean save that works great with SS2, is to start it from the mirror with Workshop Framework installed, then save it and call that your clean save. And because Workshop Framework replaces the default Workshop scripts, it replaces all the initialization that the Workshop scripts do in the base game. So I'm doing that now because I just failed to do it before the stream. My apologies. You guys got to watch this this opening that you've all seen a million times, which is why I'm just talking over it, because this is boring. No one cares about the character rolling. In fact, I'm using default Nate, just renamed. Let's see here. Come on, you got it. Anyway, so I'm just going to play through this while I'm talking. All right, so let's go up. Let's catch these super chats that are happening right now. So we've got one over. Come on, get out of here, Red Roach. You see what I mean about not being able to pay attention? So we've got one. Alan Reyes, will settlements be able to belong to factions? Absolutely. So most of the features that are in Conqueror will be coming in Chapter 3's content update, so the 3.0 patch. So most of the stuff, and it won't be in an exact format because there's so much more potential with the bases we set up with Chapter 2. So new will take a lot of the ideas that were in Conqueror and we'll change them up a bit. And then, as I mentioned pre-stream, anybody who caught it, is I don't know what's going to happen with the Conqueror story, the Raider story, because the lead writer of that left the development team ages ago. That's why we stopped developing that story, and some of the voice actors, I don't know if they're available to continue. We would love to continue that story, though, and finish it, so we'll see. But the priority is going to first be to get the features over, and then we'll see about porting the story into its own separate mod that works with SS2. All All right, Whisperfire. Hey, King Gath, what's up? Looks like I gotta make more videos. SS2 Chapter 2 now, huh? Starting after Christmas. Keep you updated. Awesome. Thank you, Whisperfire. Whisperfire has done a full playthrough of pretty much every single quest in Chapter 1, including, I think, all of the settlers that you can recruit, which is pretty cool. So if you're ever looking for a walkthrough of stuff for Chapter 1 on YouTube, go check out Whisperfire's YouTube channel. I'm sure they will be happy to link it now that I've given them the heads up. So Raybo or any other buddy who flagged in a mod, if you see Whisperfire post a link, approve it, because I think by default links are blocked, just like it's like a YouTube chat thing. All right, let's get through this intro. It's actually going quicker than I remember. And especially because we don't have to continue, like, we don't care, but we can skip Codsworth. We don't have to do Preston if we don't want to. I might, just because... actually, you know what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to show you guys a way to do the Preston intro in an interesting way that we added in Chapter 1, because I bet most people don't know about this. So we actually, our lead writer, Sir Rick, loves to do hook-ins or tie-ins to the base game, and so, like, messes with, you know, reusing their dialogue and stuff, and so he created an alternate path through the intro, which I thought was pretty cool. I gotta see if I can remember how to do it. Somebody, let's see, who is this? Koopish Jr. We're gonna make sure that Chapter 3 will fit on Xbox, so you can have all 3 chapters. We'll have to gut some stuff and maybe resize textures to little tiny garbage, but we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that Xbox players can play all 3 chapters, but it'll have to be like a dedicated playthrough. Like, you'll just be like, all right, this character is just going to play through the SS2 story, and that's it, because there's no way we can get around it. I mean, you guys have seen how massive the Chapter 2 story content is, and I have no doubt Chapter 3 will be similar, because this story content's really fun to make, and we tend to, like, I know if Kobus is listening, our voice director, he's probably cursing my name when I talk about that, but we are going to try and, like, focus it a little bit, because went a little bit wider with Chapter 2 than we intended, and that's just why it took us so long. I mean, we were developing that thing for, I think we started development at the beginning of this year. And I had originally predicted it was going to take us like 4 months, and then something like 10 months later, we're finally discussing a release date. It was crazy how quickly the scope blew up. Okay, so let's head on down here. Yeah, I play on PC with a controller. I have, for whatever reason, I think it's just like out of habit, because the first time I played a Bethesda game was on Xbox, Morrowind, and I just loved the feel of it. And so now every time I start up a new Bethesda game, ever since then, I always play it first on an Xbox with a controller, just like a habit. And part of that is because I am a workaholic, so if I sit down at my computer most of the time to game, then I find myself drifting to modding instead, or doing work. So by playing on an Xbox in my living room, then that tends to not happen. So now I've just gotten used to playing Bethesda games with a controller. So that's just what I do. Okay, so now we're going to come over here and we're going to make a save, and I'm going to call this my clean save. And this way, if we have a save file detonation, I can roll back to this in the future. So we'll go, I'd save from the console exclusively, and maybe this is part of why I don't run into the save issues. So maybe we'll start doing some menu saves too. So we're going to call this let's play clean save. What's the date today? 12/22/21. Hopefully I'll remember that's what this is for. Okay, so welcome to Chapter 1. So we're gonna do things. We're gonna go right through the SS2 quests. We might do a little bit of vanilla questing, only because I want to show some of the tie-in with the Chapter 2 stuff. I know we hyped it up a lot with the trailer, so I want to show you guys how some of that stuff works. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and grab this. Now, there's a rumor that this is what causes Jake to spawn. That is not actually true, because, and the reason we didn't do that is because if you were to come in and build a city plan, this would get eaten by the city plan, or would get subbed in the workbench and you might lose it, or if you used a mod that deleted stuff, we didn't want people to be just like left without a way to get Jake. There is definitely in the long-term plans, I will eventually add for you guys some way to force Jake to delay. I know especially people who like to do city plans, it can be really annoying having to run away from him or console disable him. So I'll take care of that eventually. It's just one of those things. We have so many other things to deal with. We've got why didn't that work? Oh, I blew the ceramic and the steel. Grab some more. There we go. So I will eventually add something like that. But for now, to start up Chapter 1, just build a radio recruitment beacon in one of your settlements, and the stranger will show up. So that is what we're going to do. And he should appear, I think he usually appears in the backyard over here in Sanctuary. You don't have to do Sanctuary, you just have to do any Conqueror or any Commonwealth settlement, anyone that's outside. I think we finally disabled it so he won't show up at like the vault because it makes it really awkward if he has no way to walk to Concord. There he is.
Hey, hello there. If I'm not mistaken, you're the fella I've been looking for.
Can I help you?
I heard your radio broadcast. Sounded as if you were starting some kind of settlement. Is that about the right of it?
That's right.
Well, in that case...
All right, well, you guys can read the subtitles, so I'll keep talking over this because enough of you have probably seen this now. You don't need to hear every little bit they're saying, although, man, is that... Jake's voice actor is freaking incredible. Guy's name is Tom. He's wonderful. You can find his info in our credit section on the wiki. If I was able to multitask, I would post his Twitter up right now. It sounds so pro. So many of the voice actors sound amazingly pro in this. Roman Day, super chat. Love the work, especially the writing, skill checks, etc. Definitely feels better than that Bethesda level writing for sure. Were you inspired by F&V? I cannot say because I am not involved in the writing other than I go to a lot of the writers' meetings to make sure that mechanics are worked in, and then I'll throw my feedback in there, but I try not to get in the way of the writers because I'm not a writer. I am a code monkey. So I imagine, I know that I can tell you from talks with Sir Rick, our lead writer, that his biggest inspiration is actually Baldur's Gate. He is a Baldur's Gate junkie to this day, still plays it. And those old school games that I think were there are a lot more dialogue checks and things you could do to manipulate your way through quests that didn't involve combat. So you'll definitely find a lot more of that in Chapter 2. Chapter 1 is very tutorial heavy, so there's not a lot of room for it, but Chapter 2, we've got quite a lot of different paths through quests. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and build this first plot. So I know some people who, if you haven't played this, you might get the objective to place down an ASAM sensor and think we mean it literally. I think, actually, did we update the... Let me check that now, I'm curious. Did we update this to say build a residential plot? Okay, cool. At one point, I don't think we had the objectives quite like that. I know a lot of objectives get changed after feedback from you guys, especially during testing, and then again, like I've already got a list of objectives I got to update after we get past the hotfix phase. Some of them will get updated before that, but so we build a residential plot 2x2 here. If you guys don't have those HUD elements on the right and left, that is provided from SS2, but only if you have the mod HUD framework. That's what lets us hack into the HUD and show that stuff.
You've made the smart move of choosing Rocker brand ASAM sensors for your city planning needs. Unlike other less reliable multi-purpose sensors, Rocker brand ASAM sensors offer the level of versatility and connectability that you deserve. Rocker brand ASAM sensors, America's #1.
So these little intros from the sensors were just to kind of add some flavor and try and make this, we wanted this to feel super polished at the beginning. But then we actually recorded more of them, and I don't think I've implemented them yet. We actually have those recorded for all the different plots for when you place them. I'm sure, I think they play already after the building plan builds, but we also have them for when the plot builds because it covers up some of the load time. Because I know any of you guys who played SS or S2 for a long time, you know it takes a while before the plots are initialized where you can do anything because there's a lot of code that runs in the background. So we actually created more of those lines I got to implement just to cover up the wait period where Jake's just standing there and not using the plot during when you introduce the other plot types.
And I don't know how to build one myself. I guess
Shout out to Sebo, who's our animator who created that awesome animation for the sensor to do the little crazy spinny thing, and then makes that was like one of those moments where whenever I watch people stream this, they're just like, oh, this mod's legit. They didn't half-ass any of this, which is always fun to watch. Because that was like the goal we wanted. I think we kind of did the Bethesda thing. Like if you watch, or you look at Bethesda's intro, like from the waking, pre-war up to like the Deathclaw fight with Preston, it's all super polished and it's hard to trigger bugs, and everything seems like it's got a lot of interesting stuff going on with it. Like it just felt like a lot of scripted moments. Like that's kind of the same thing we took, and I think their idea and what we went with is that you want people to like be impressed right away so that they don't just give up on it because it feels like jank. So that was kind of our goal as well, which is always why it's a bummer when I hear people having trouble on How I Had a Hammer, because that's such an early quest. But I hope we did a good enough job with these first couple that it gets most people engaged, and I think it does. Otherwise they wouldn't be bothering to sign up for forum accounts and tell us how I Had a Hammer's giving them trouble. Z Games is possibly get a pistol like Jake's. I mean, you could spawn. You would probably have to make a patch because I think we have it flagged as non-playable. But actually, Nero made that for us when he made the outfit because I showed it to him in the concept art, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just make that." And it's basically a revolver and a laser pistol merged together, and it came out pretty cool looking.
The directions that the ASAM provides are so
Getting
easy to
assaulted by
understand,
bloat flies.
even a savage could do it, no problem.
Now, originally, we actually, for this sequence, we were going to go crazy with it and do, have, like, Jake picking up boards and a hammer and, like, actually building all this, and then that just kind of fell through because that was going to take so long. And we didn't have, at the time, the person we knew with a mocap suit to do that exited the project, and... I mean, maybe Nihir will find himself inspired to do that at some point. But for now, I still think this came out really cool, even having him just talking and using the things. The nice thing about him not... Ooh, that was awkward that it did in that order. The nice thing about him not doing the mocap thing is then if he was doing the mocap, players might expect that every NPC is going to do, like, specific board placement and stuff, which would have set up expectations poorly. Like, that would have been like, no, that's not going to happen, because... doing this all dynamically, it could be done, but not in Fallout 4's engine. No way in hell.
A warm and dry citizen is a productive citizen.
And there you have
What was used by Automatron in Chapter 2 so far, it's for part of HQ. So without spoiling HQ too much, I'll just say there's this lab system we have, and we wanted to make sure that the robotics workbench was incorporated with that. And then we might delve further into the Automatron hook with some ideas that people have floated around later in post-patch content or in Chapter 3. We're not sure yet, but it was mostly for the lab system. And any of you guys who've played around with the HQ labs and probably knows the power of those and why it's cool that we added that in. But at this point, we figured pretty much if you're still playing Fallout 4, what is it, 6 years old now? And you haven't splurged the DLCs, I think if you buy the game now, you get the DLC for free. So I think it's like $20 or $30 or something to get the game and the DLC. It's crazy at this point. If you've gotten this many years out of the game, then I'd say just buy the DLC. It's time. It's time, guys. I forgot what we were saying. We're just pretty much going to answer through all this stuff until we get to some interesting dialogue choices where I know there's info you're going to want to see. Roman Day, is it possible to join the Discord server if you post an add-on? Yeah, anybody who's working on add-on packs or working on modding in general, we have a Discord server available to help people learn how to mod. A lot of support for people who are working on SS2 add-on packs. If you go to the forums at simsettlements.com, there is a path to get there. There should be some information on how to get there. You basically just have to request access to it, and somebody will read your post and make sure it's talking about modding and not just, hey, can I get some help with my playthrough? And then somebody will send you an invite. Usually within the same day.
I got me a workshop in a town called Concord. Nice enough place, fairly quiet. Or at least it was. But just recently, I returned from a trade run to find the entire town overrun by raiders. And now I can't get near.
So there's a path we have all written, and we got the dialogue recorded, but it never got implemented because it was going to take a lot of time. And it was dumb that we didn't do it because it's now useless to do it. So originally when we released SS2, we figured some people are just going to load it on their existing saves, and they're going to have, not only are they going to have Concord cleared, but it'll have been cleared so long the cell probably reset. So we actually had a whole nother intro done in Concord for people who, and I keep saying Concord, and I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm diverging. I'm a rambler. For those of you guys who are new to my streaming and everything, I'm a rambler. So if you hate that, apologies. Nothing I can do about it. It's just my nature. So anyway, we had a whole nother intro for people who had the cell reset on them, and we should have implemented it back then. Did not. Now I don't know if we'll ever bother, just because like there's so much. There's unlimited things we want to do. And so certain things just kind of like, oh, that was a cool idea. I'm glad it'd be nice to have, and maybe somebody on the team will be inspired to do it, but not rushing toward it. So we had an alternate for that, and it just never happened. But and that would have been good for people who were playing the mod from an existing save. But now I think most people who play SS2 are playing from a fresh save. There's not a lot of people who are coming in with a late game load order trying to load on a mod that's this heavy. Roman Day, wait, you guys use mocap for SS2? Indeed we do, especially for Chapter 2. I don't know if any of it ended up in Chapter 1, other than we probably did... I know we retconned in a few animations, like there's an animation in Concord we use during the quest well. But yeah, we got mocap. Neher, he's a modder himself. He's done quite a few mods out there. He's got his own YouTube channel, does some stuff on there. You should check out. And he joined the team, and we got him a mocap suit, and he does all sorts of cool animations for the mod. I don't really need Red Rocket, but might as well grab it. And I want dog meat. Gotta have my doggo. Okay, so back to the Conquered thing. Bethesda was kind enough to feature SS2 right after it launched on the main site, and one of their employees contacted me and had some feedback about the mod. They played through it, and one of their comments was, "It's Conquered," and sent me a bunch of information and links about how we were mispronouncing it all the time. So now we just kind of let the voice actors do it, and so some of them do it Conquered and some of them do it Concord. Because I think even Bethesda characters do it both ways. I think they were just poking fun, but now we kind of make it it's a joke internally about whether it's Conquered or Concord. This is going to be the first time I've played this game without God mode in ages, so I wouldn't be surprised if I don't accidentally die. And so on that note, let's pop a quick save, because I always just play in God mode for testing. Why would I bother not doing that? I'm testing quests and building mode, not combat. Which is probably another reason why a lot of our combat encounters are super overtuned, because we're just testing in God mode. But I think so many of you guys get to God tier in this game, because that's what's fun about Bethesda games, is turning into a one-man army. Kill some raiders here. Whoa. I am playing on normal difficulty. I don't have the patience for survival anymore, and I don't care about difficulty. I really just want to get through story content. That's really what motivates me. In fact, I realized how much that motivated me. I played through Forgotten City recently. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically an old Skyrim mod that got turned into its own game. Really good. But it basically feels like you're just playing through all of the story type content in like a Bethesda city. Oh, I gotta pause, guys. I'm getting some calls from the wife. I'll be right back. Okay. Well, apologies for that. My 2-year-old started Ralphing everywhere, and we had to get him out of bed, clean him up, change the sheets, all that fun stuff. I think he seems okay, though. He's a little trooper. But now I'm going to be on emergency dad duty, so I've got... can barely hear my mic. I got baby monitor on, and I might step away again. So a good, exciting first live stream. All right, I don't remember what
I just want to trade
you
a few
said.
things.
No, I don't want to trade him.
Folks in the museum still need help.
Okay, let's go help him. Couldn't remember what I was doing. No idea what I was talking about where we pulled away. Doesn't matter. Let's get in here and kill some guys. Now I'm going to show you guys a little thing that we set up. Hopefully I remember to do it. But if you do not like Preston, which we know a lot of you do, or hate him from all of our years of dealing with the mod and people requesting things like people hating that we had the holotape in the museum at first. A lot of different reasons you guys dislike Preston and company. We gave a solution where you don't actually have to talk to Preston and you can still do this quest. And so I'm going to show that route. Oh! Thank God for normal difficulty here. That would have wrecked me. Double barrel right to the face. Alright, I don't know. Aren't there... There's usually some bobby pins around here somewhere. Can't remember where. Alright, well, let's just try hacking the computer. Oop, oop, oop. Normally I love these minigame, but I lose all patience for it when I'm doing streaming. Like this one, I'm gonna fail this thing. Alright, let's look for some cheat codes. Dud removed. Oh, now, of course, I got the reset tries on my first go through this. Alright, we're just going to go ahead with the lockout. Give it a second.
If I only had a bobby pin.
Where are those bobby pins? Are they right up here, maybe? Well, sure, I've always found some when I play this. Oh well. Alright, let's see my lockout done. I actually think the lockout, the thing just resetting was such a wasted thing for the hacker perk. Like it made that so much less valuable that everybody just gets a free reset. Okay, let's try guessing here. Macho 0. Wheel, that doesn't match anything in Macho. 1. Round, that matches nothing in wheel. Parts matches nothing. Eager, where are we at? So we got one match with wheel. Yep, nope, nothing there. Tires has a single match. Yeah, I don't have time to do. Okay, we're gonna give up on that for now. I really want a bobby pin. The lockpicking is such an easier mini game. All right, up we go to kill some more bad guys. It's always a bummer. I feel like they probably had this scripted at some point to actually fire off and hit them every time, but now it just never does, which is such a bummer, because it would have been sweet to have that guaranteed execute those two. Whoa! Oh, a little aggressive with the old Molotov. I hope none of you get upset about me never opening my perk chart. I just don't care about perks at all. Like I might go grab local leader at some point, but otherwise I just don't care about this because I'm not focused on combat at all. And this game is so damn easy, you can basically beat it at level 1. And down. Okay, so the trick and the direction, the way you can go through this. So once you get them all killed and you got the objective done, kill the raiders, museum, return to the stranger, if you just go back out the front door here, we've got it rigged up to trigger the raiding again. And we even have, if you do that and you haven't talked to Preston and you come back in, you can still talk to Preston again. And we have a new conversation that'll pick up. So if you decide that, you know, like I'm not ready to do Preston, or I hate Preston, you can do either you want. So you can go either way. You can be like, I'm just going to ditch Preston, I don't want to deal with him. Or you can say, I want to deal with him, but later in my playthrough, and he'll be sitting here waiting with a new scene if you do the route that I'm just doing. So I'll show you guys all that scene. But I just want to show that because it's something I think not a lot of people know about, but people probably wish was in there, and it is. You just have to know how to do it. And that's just running right back out the front door. This will trigger the scene that normally triggers when you go up and grab the power armor. And hopefully old Jakey and his laser will keep me from dying to the Deathclaw.
Up here. I'm slick. Boss, we got somebody up here.
All right, let's kill some raiders. Come on, Jake, plug them. You got the big guns here. Hey, Grizzle. Good job, dog meat. Did he just stim pack? Come on. There we go. Got your head. Don't shoot my dog, you jerk. I guess we should put some armor on. I got all this raider stuff I can wear. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh wow! I actually ran out of 10mm ammo. I was just about to comment I don't need no pipe pistols, and then I ran out of ammo. Let's see here. Sure, we'll use a laser musket for a little bit. Nope, not a good weapon for me. Ooh, there it goes. I knew that was coming. The old death.
We got somebody up here.
All right, let's go ahead and okay. Clearly, laser musket not my jam. Probably the same with the short barrel shotgun. I think. Oh, I guess I can use the Molotovs. I need weapons I can spam. All right, we'll start out with a little Molotov action. There we go. How about for you, Grizzly? There we go. Nope. Alright, oh, there he is. There we go. Ooh, that bloody mess. Actually, I don't think I don't have bloody mess yet. I don't think I've got any perks yet. Grab some more gear here. Let's equip up so I don't just insta die anymore. There we go. Not too many of those. There we go. Get our Deathclaw to help us out with the raiders. Alright, now we cheese it. Now we'll throw the laser musket. Up we go. Yeah, you should get out of here. Come on, Deathclaw, throw some dirt at me. Come on, Raiders, fight the Deathclaw. There's a big mean monster right there. Leave me out of this. Where'd he go? Fine. Oh god, am I gonna die again? Alright. Come on, fight the Deathclaw. There we go. Hearing him punch some raiders. Probably the last of my stim packs. There we go. Come here. It's gonna be a long fight without that minigun. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're gonna do the little trick I said with walking out the front. You either got to come up with some secret way to get up to the top there, which I think you can do. I think there's ways you can leap across the roofs to get up there. It's been a while since I've tried that, but this is definitely a little bit slower than having the minigun to just grind this guy down. Jake definitely helps with this though, because his laser pistol is heavily overtuned. That's actually one of the things we learned in Dev, and there's probably a way around it, but I haven't figured it out yet. With NPCs, when you give them a custom weapon, the only way to make sure they use it all the time is to make sure that that it's more powerful than most of the weapons you find on the ground, because otherwise they will just grab the first thing they find that's better than their default weapon and equip that instead, which is a bummer. So like all of our Well, not all of them. I think some of them we just didn't bother with it. But like Jake and Aiden, they have their custom weapons. Or Aiden's isn't custom, but it's we specifically designed it to match his personality. Is they will just immediately grab some random flamethrower or rocket launcher on the ground because it happens to do more damage than the weapon we start them with. And it seems like there would be such an easy way to get past that. And I feel like I've never seen like Preston do that. So I don't know why it happens. Maybe I just don't pay enough attention. All right, there we go. And we...
Hi.
So now we got the report back to Preston. So now Preston will be sitting in the lobby as if we had already talked to him. But the dialogue is actually set up in a way where it reintroduces you. So it sounds like so it matches what you would expect in the playthrough. It was really well done. That's all I'm saying. And I'll show you guys in a minute. I don't know why I just keep talking about it instead of just showing you. They're still in there.
Couldn't help him, huh? That's a shame, but I understand.
The King Gathverse. I don't think that's fair to the rest of the team because there are way more people than me involved in this. Go look at the credits page; it's crazy.
All right, you held up your side of the bargain. The Raiders have been dealt with. Now it's my turn to deliver. If you'd just like to follow me, we'll get you your ASAMs.
Let's go get some ASAMs. And for those of you who didn't read through the 2.0 patch notes or haven't noticed, you can get a lot of ASAMs from Jake now. So in the initial launch, all the boxes in his store were static. And I realized that I just don't care if you guys get ASAM rich. Like eventually you'll get to a point where you'll have to craft some, and then by then the cost might not matter as much. So the cost was really more about, a lot of the costs that we set up in the mod are more about immersion than actual caring about the resources, because it's so easy to get rich in this game, especially when you get settlements involved. But all of these boxes now are boxes of ASAM sensors you can pick up, which should give you 20 ASAMs, although I didn't get a notification in the corner, so maybe that's broken and that's a bug I gotta add to my list.
Nice place you got here.
Despite the mess they made, it doesn't look like they took anything important. Most of my equipment is still here, including your reward. Here, one whole box of
After I just stole off the two on the floor behind him. Although I'm really worried that they didn't work. I gotta go check my inventory now. Thank you for the holotape. I'm gonna show you guys another little thing for people who hate Preston, because I've gotten also the commentary on other comments and stuff, or on the mod page about people they don't even want Preston's quest in their log, and I got a solution for that too. I mean, the easiest solution is MCM lets you spawn a holotape, but
what exactly is going on here?
Well, before the Raiders showed up, I was doing research on the ASAMs. Despite me being the closest thing in the Commonwealth to an expert, there's still a lot I don't know about them.
Happy to help.
That's not all. If you remember, I also promised to show you more things you could build with ASAM sensors. I'll meet you back at your settlement. Don't keep me waiting long now.
Sounds good, Jaco. Although I don't think he's introduced himself, has he? No. Just go by stranger for the longest time. All right, so for those of you guys who hate Preston so much you don't even want his quest in your log, you can actually poke your head right here and grab this holotape, and it's just outside of the range of triggering his quest. So if you really want to get the holotape, so like Xbox players, I guess that's who it would be for, because PC players, you should all be using MCM, and you can just go to mod config here, Sim Settlements 2, and give yourself a holotape right on this main screen, and I'll just pop one in your inventory. And the holotape is necessary. Well, even though we have the MCM menu, there's just some things that just don't work good in MCM, so the holotape is kind of like, there's certain stuff you're only going to get out of the holotape. All right, let's, we got to gear up here. This is the boring stuff that in my normal Let's Plays get done off camera. Let's see here. So sorry with the live play, you guys got to suffer through it. But I'm not going to be a total loot whore because I'm not really taking the my character progression very seriously here. I'm mostly just trying not to die is the goal of this. So I'm going to loot stim packs, grab some caps because there's some various points where that's useful, and try and keep my armor up to date. And that's about it. I guess I should grab a pipe pistol because I am going to be forced to use that for a bit. So my 10mm is running low. Let's see here. What do we got? 18 rounds left. All right, cool. This one's terrible, but it'll have to do. All right, let's go get Jakey. So I'm hoping to trigger. So this next quest is pretty quick, and then we immediately get to go into If I Had a Hammer, which is what I'm really hoping. We run into a bug that many of you report that I have not run into with the quest If I Had a Hammer, where the objectives just kind of get all weird and never seem to complete. hopefully we'll trigger that. I really want to run into every bug, like, because it is so much easier for me to fix a bug if I've got a save file where I know exactly what happened. I've got some save files leading up to it, and it's got almost no mods installed, which is exactly what this is. So that is one of the big parts of this playthrough. Is it's going to be just like a phenomenal bug hunting tool if I run into any issues. All right, let's head over to Sanctuary. For those of you guys who are just joining up, just want to remind everybody, you do not have to do Sanctuary as your settlement to start this. It's whatever settlement you build a recruitment beacon in after you install SS2, if you're new to Chapter 1. And if you do it in a settlement and the stranger shows up and you regret your choice, you can actually change it. So if you go load up in the holotape, if we go into holotape here, this is something I think only people who really pay attention on the forums would know this. I'm gonna go to return user and cancel this so it doesn't change any of my settings. I like the default ones, and I'm not playing with the full options on in this. I'm playing with just the default, like, middle of the road options, mostly because I think it would take forever if I'm playing with the full difficulty of the scrap. So I'm playing with the mid-level category. But anyway, so if you come into tools and you go to advanced, you can change the main quest settlement, and this will let you tell a stranger to use a different settlement for all of the quests. All right, let's see if he can figure out pathing. Come on, buddy. There you go. Walk around the car. But I like using Sanctuary. Feels nice to have this. I like having this place built in every save for whatever reason. It's nice and big, plenty of room for plots. Just feels like a great starting settlement. And it's close enough to Conqueror where you don't get irritated waiting forever for characters to walk between the hardware store in here, which happens quite a bit in the quest line. Oh yeah, we have more settlers because we have the recruitment beacon already. All right, let's see.
Hey there.
All right, time to show you what else ASAMs can do. Now, generally speaking, people need a roof
I might end
over
up
their
doing
head,
some
food in
time
their belly,
skips while I'm
and a
playing
place
this,
to be working.
just for the sake of keeping the daylight on, because I know it's real hard to see on in this game when it gets dark. Unfortunately, I'm not playing with Darker Nights, but even without Darker Nights, I still feel like it can be hard to watch this on streams and stuff. What are we
What are you
building?
planning on building?
I'm going to show you the two other things your ASAMs can build. Farms where folks
I think when I'm ready to take my break, it's going to be because I need another cup of coffee.
Can work.
I'm a night coffee drinker.
Okay, show me.
All right. Place down a sensor again. But this time, we'll use one configured for food production.
So this is one of the interesting conversations we always have when we're working on the mod and the story stuff is figuring out how to have characters refer to stuff versus what to call it in the menus. And it inevitably is such that we have to call it different things just because, you know, having Jake say agricultural foundation plot 2x2 would be just awkward as hell. So we end up going through a whole lot of drafts of this. And I remember we kept joking about the amount of times that Jake has to say plot in Chapter 1 is so painful that it feels cringy. Same with ASAM Sensor. He says ASAM so much that it was like we all hated the word ASAM by the time we finished Chapter 1 development. All right, oh yeah, I got exit workshop mode, and that triggers the next part. So right here, this is the part where we're supposed to have the sensor talk, because there's this awkward period where Jake just stands in the middle waiting for the plot to initialize, and so like the little intro conversation of the sensor would cover up some of that waiting time. So then watch the stranger build happens. Let's see if he gets assigned. There we go. So yeah, so like that's why, so we ended up adding those back in just as a trick to cover up some of the code load times.
I just want to show you how easy this is. Now, I can't say I've got much of a green thumb.
Yeah, the drop the ASM on the ground. I think I talked about this earlier when we first gave the mod to testers. This was ages ago because SS2 was in development during Conqueror's lifespan. Like, this is how long we've been on SS2, and we've had most of the story, at least the first two chapters, completely planned out. So any of you guys who, and there's been rumors going around that we like intentionally chose a bunch of locations to mess with other mods, that is not true at all. We've had this planned for years, and it just took so long to develop because we got way over ambitious. But there was a point in here where the tester, I think the objective just said I think it said exactly what Jake said, which is like put down the ASAM sensor or whatever. They just kept dropping the sensor on the ground, wondering what was going on, thinking that was how plots were going to work in SS2. Which, man, wouldn't that be awful? Like if every time you wanted to build something, you had to go in your inventory and drop an item on it, because like the inventory screen, this is one of my most hated parts about Fallout is the inventory system. I hate it so much, and I don't know what they can do about it, but they need to do something different. All right, and now I think this is another point where we wait, because we got to let the plot build up, and then it should start talking when it's done. Commander Wolf, will there be a pet quest to get wolves for pet stores as guard dogs to move with patrols? Glory to you and your house, King F, loving some settlements too. Yeah, there we go. Now it picked up. So will there be get wolves for pet stores? Probably not a quest for it. I don't know if we're going to hook into Nuka World or Far Harbor, because they cause a lot of problems with development. So some of the other mod teams who are working on the gigantic mods like Miami and Cascadia and stuff, I've talked to some other devs about the headaches of having all of the major story DLC parented, and working on their mods becomes a big pain in the butt. So we have avoided it, and we just talk about it as it's just a non-starter. So, but one of the reasons that I put so much time into the add-on pack system and making sure everything is injectable is because I want people who are willing to, you know, deal with those hiccups, or who find other ways around it, can do that. So I'm pretty sure there are add-on packs already that inject wolves into the pet store. Probably don't have quests around them, because quest development is really hard, but I'm sure that there are ways to get pets in the pet store. Speaking of add-on stuff, there will be a major update to the Builder's Toolkit for Chapter 2, probably after hotfix time, so sometime after the holidays when we're done patching every couple of days, and then I'll get to work on the Builder's Toolkit. I've already started a lot of it. I've got a lot of the HQ stuff documented, but people will be able to create their own HQs, add new content to HQ, do the world repopulation system where they can have new people move in to build derelict buildings. Basically, every system that is in new to Chapter 2 can be added to, just like everything else in SS2. So hopefully we'll see some really interesting add-on packs coming after that. All right, let's get an industrial plot up. So industrial is probably the biggest change in SS2 versus SS1. So one of the things that SS1 I felt did wrong was it made the player stupid rich, stupid fast, and really broke the game economy. And I could tell this a lot because one of the most requested features was a patch for Horizon, because we made it too easy. And like that, you know, mod is all about dragging out the game time and like making it so that everything has a lot more depth to it, which means add a lot more hours. And we were ruining stuff like that. And so Industrial also was kind of like the forgotten garbage plot when I first launched SS1. It was just like there had one building plan for it. It didn't do anything interesting, which is why the follow-up expansion, Industrial Revolution, was all about Industrial. It was trying to make Industrial more interesting. And so this was built right into the get-go. We had Industrial as a core part. So now instead of everything being free, everything gets paid for to build on plots, and but we give you plenty of ways to generate junk through Industrial. And the goal was basically to make kind of Industrial as your foundation level plot, whereas in SS1 it was always agricultural. So now we anticipate the most common plot you'll have in the early game is Industrial. So if you hadn't figured that out, that is kind of the layout for SS2, and that is going to help you succeed. Is you want to do bare minimum food, and anytime you got extra people available to work where you're just like, I can just give them any old job, should probably be Industrial to build up your stockpile of junk storage so that you have plenty of stuff to build. Because in the early game, everything is stupid cheap. All the early building plans, especially after we did the rebalance 1.10 patch, everything's really cheap. You can just run around your settlement and scrap stuff or collect junk yourself to pay for it. But once you get to like up to like level 3 of certain plots and the higher end plots that you unlock later, the building classes, not the plots. Once you get to the higher end building classes, the costs get ridiculous and you won't be able to pay for them out of pocket anymore. So you'll need to have a good industrial foundation of generating the high amounts of the scrap you'll need. All right, let me find one of these. Time to queue up the first glass of water. Coffee's gone.
If you want settlements to grow, you need folks to gather useful building materials.
These little sequences with Jake were tough to work out the timing with, because for some people, like the the script lag gets bad in settlements, even if they're not deep into some settlements. And so for some people, I've watched Let's Plays and like there's just this massive time delay. So I ended up having to just set timers for all this. And then after a little while, the building just gets forced completed because it was such an awkward amount of time for some people. And I'm sure for some of you it still is. It's like an unbearable amount of time. But we tried to do everything with timers. But even timers can get ruined because those are based on scripts. And if your save is just buried in scripts, there's nothing we can do about it. It's actually one of the biggest motivators to get out of Fallout 4 one day is how much trouble people have with the scripting engine that we can't do anything about. Like we have no solution to it.
There's no bones about it. Even useful people are starting to feel the pinch.
So the industrial, I just saw somebody, it's a name, industrial cause more sickness. Only the rare materials and higher in the classes cause more sickness. So you can build as much building materials and organic materials and machine parts as you want, and those will cover the majority of the like low to mid tier buildings. That was again one of the things we did with the rebalance patch was we tried to make that a clearer thing, that there's almost like a tier system to the building materials or to the scrap. So like if I happen, I can't happen to workshop mode up during this, but if you look at the way they're laid out on my HUD, I'll show it to you again in a second after we get done with this conversation.
Eventually they will want more. Now it's up to you what type of ASAMs you put down, but do try and keep in mind what folks in your settlements will be needing.
This was another, this conversation stuff and him talking about stuff is another point where, hey, old Paul, another point where we had a lot of discussion in the story meetings about how much detail to go into for a couple of reasons. One is we didn't want to like bury people in technical stuff from the characters because it would just like been horribly boring to listen to. But also we didn't want to like lock ourselves into a corner where we couldn't change gameplay because of stuff the characters said. So it was this really like delicate dance that I don't think we pulled off perfectly because there's so many questions that come up about gameplay mechanics that people just didn't feel were answered during these tutorial phases. But it's tough. It is real tough. Mad props to games who get it right. Get the complex gameplay explained in a narrative. It's really challenging to do.
Yeah, something like that.
Actually, we just finished building these. Foundations, walls, everything.
Is that so? Built them by yourself, did you? Well, you two looking to settle down here, or?
This settlement belongs to my friend here, not me. I was just demonstrating some construction techniques using this ASAM sensor.
Construction techniques? Using that gadget there? Sounds like Brahmin dung to me. Are you telling me you made all this using that gizmo?
That's right.
That's right. We're rebuilding.
You say that as if building stuff is easy.
Hey, here's a suggestion. Why not
So
offer
for those of you who are looking for a good nickname for old Paul, during Dev, somebody started calling him Earthworm because he's got this like awkwardly long neck. And we don't know how that happened. I think it was just like when we made the face, the creator, and I think Sir Rick created this face, lifted the chin up to give him kind of a smaller face profile instead of pushing the whole head down. So then he ends up with this, the neck ends up staying this super long. So he's got this crazy kind of worm head vibe going on, which is hard to unhear once you see that. It's like, oh, yep, it's Earthworm Paul. Did you guys see Earthworm Jim is coming back? I never expected to see that again. Let's see here.
Okay, then, you got yourself a deal. Old Paul is at your service. Now, if you'd excuse me a second, I want to check out this here sensor doohickey.
How about that? Your ASAMs have already attracted their first resident.
Well, technically second.
That, I'd say our exchange
I actually never even thought about that occasionally a settler might show up from building the beacon. That's already there when he makes that line. Didn't even consider that. I could probably arrange to disable it, but that's one of those things. There's some like little subtle things sometimes we think of or that you guys suggest where it's just like, all right, the problem is we could do that, but it could potentially cause like this cascade of issues that we didn't expect, and it's like then it's not worth it. Like this is one of those types of things. Like I could make it so that no settlers would appear until after Old Paul, but if I go back and add that, chances are for some people it'll just get stuck forever and there'll never be another new settler, stuff like that. And it's just not worth it. We'll have a little bit of an immersion fail to make sure that we don't break what's already working.
I've got some family matters I need to take care of. And personal stuff. I'm sure you understand.
It was good working with you.
Yeah, you too. I should get going. Oh, and good luck with your settlement.
Hey, where's that ASAM fella going?
Here we go. Here's the one we're hoping to trigger some bugs on that many of you guys have seen, where the time, and maybe we'll see it with the objectives getting all screwy. Excuse me. I'm just hopeful, and if the objectives get all screwy, I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is a lot of you have talked about the quest, this next quest restarting itself or never completing. That's what I'm hoping to trigger, because I've never seen that happen, and for myself, I've seen it happen in Let's Plays, but I've never been able to trigger it, and I would love to have a save where that happens so I can finally fix that for you guys.
These here censored thingamabobs. You know, to make sure everybody's got a home, a place to work, and not to mention enough food.
That's a good idea.
Well, I've been known to have a decent idea now and again. These ASAM things seem very impressive, but we can only make use of them if you place them down for us.
Okay, let's do this. All right, did I get the quest, first of all? No, I didn't. So we got another bug? The quest didn't start at all? Oh no, here it goes. It's just taking a minute. Okay, here we go. So we've got to assign some settlers. So they automatically assign to the existing ones we built. So now we just got to build a bunch more. All right, and now we're gonna do a little time skip here. So let me save first, because doing a time skip or sleep or wait is always asking for trouble. So we're gonna call this LP day 1 MQ03. So you guys are gonna see me reference MQ and then a number, and that's just because I have all the main quests, the order they go in memorized from doing this for so long. Whoops, I don't like that slash. That feels like that's gonna bug out. Okay, so we got a nice save there. And then let's do some past time command. What time is it right now? Get game hour. Oops. Help. Game hour 3. Would have been easier to just open my Pip-Boy. Game hour is 0.7, so it's midnight. So past time, we'll do 8 hours. I guess I could have just done set game hour, but whatever. All right. So now let's build some more plots. We'll make this little section our industrial zone. Snap that to there. And let's go over here and get some, we'll make this our little red zone since we already started there. Don't have to do this, obviously. I'm just choosing to do this. This is like old SimCity habits kicking in here. All right, let's build you there. How about, can we snap you? Yeah. Oh yeah, let's try it this way. There we go. Get out of here. Oh, and we gotta remember that we actually need scrap to build in SS2, so we're gonna scrap a bunch of stuff. If it gets to a point where I'm starting to run into supply problems that are slowing down the Let's Play, I might cheat and turn off build costs or something, but for now I'm gonna keep them on. Okay, so now our HUD's showing up there, so we can talk about a little bit what I started on up there with the fact that industrial is so important. So you can see on the right-hand side, I've got the resources. I've got caps are obvious. The next one is scrap, and that's like the total scrap. 0 out of the max, so that's the max your settlement can hold. And we put a max in place to keep people from just hoarding just unlimited resources, which would have basically ruined any of our end game plans, especially because we knew from the get-go that HQ was going to be a thing. That's always been like our game plan. We couldn't get it. We couldn't wait long enough to get it into chapter 1. It was just so much dev time on that, and it's still got a long ways to go. HQ is going to be like a monster when it's done. But after the scrap there, then it's the 4 categories. And so you will get, so the first one that got built by Jake is the building material shed. That's just going to add to the building materials. That's your kind of lowest tier. That's what's used for most of the early game plot types that are unlocked and the level 1 buildings. And then as you get to higher tier building classes and higher levels, it adds the next type. So like to get to level 2, a lot of the buildings that use just building materials for level 1 will add organic materials into their costs. And then to get to level 3, they'll also add machine parts, and it kind of goes like that. So you can get away with all the starter plots, like the starter building classes. You can get all of them to level 3 without ever having rare materials, which is where the pollution comes in, which might start increasing sicknesses. So for those of you guys looking to kind of ways to min-max, that is kind of the design pattern we went with there. All right, so let's build another one of these. Actually, let me build, I guess I should get enough, make sure I got enough food for everybody. I got 6 already, so this guy must have decent endurance on him if he's getting me. Wait, oh, I know what's going on. There's somebody assigned to these food in the backyard. Okay, so we'll do, since we got 6 food and we'll have 5 just from that guy, that we actually got lucky. He's got high endurance, so he's making a little extra food, but we also got to account for the fact that somebody might get sick and lose a couple. So I guess I will do 2 agricultural. That feels like a safer number. Also, we're going to get midway through, if I had a hammer, we force spawn more settlers so people don't have to wait. Because one of the things, so a lot of our quests were originally written thinking that people were going to want to play the rest of the game too. They aren't going to just want to like power down Sim Settlements quest content, but then in reality, everyone who plays Sim Settlements tends to just power through the quests. So then like the idea of going away and not working on our quests full time, kind of like people are like, wait, what? I should do that? And like whenever I suggest it. So we've started to learn that even though we bake those wait periods in, there most people are, a lot of people seem to not want to use those wait periods for anything else. So anywhere we can work in ways to just fast forward things we're starting to do. One of those was the forcing the settlers to just spawn, because in testing it was always the same thing. Everybody just wanted to complete the quest right away. They didn't want to wait they didn't want to go do other stuff. So like having to wait for settlers to naturally appear was just a non-starter. So then we just forced them to appear. So that is why once you finish this objective, you immediately get Lily showing up, and then more people showing up with the objective. And I think she shows up with the correct amount to make sure to get it to 8. I don't remember exactly how we have to have that set up. All right, so we're gonna end up with 2 farms, which will be plenty of food. We've got, so that'll be 4. We need a 5th job. We'll make that industrial. And I'm probably gonna force this one to be building materials, because I believe with 2 building material plots, I think you get the organic material. Yep, there it is. Unlocked. Oh, okay, no. That's weird. Why did we just unlock building materials? I guess I don't remember how the unlocks are set up. We have all this stuff documented on the wiki, so if I give out bad information, and you want to call me out, should point link to the wiki. Somebody can go check it out on their own. All right, let's check if we build. I think if you get 2 building material gathering at level 1, it unlocks organic, or it might be if you get a level 2 building material. I don't remember. But anyway, let's get more building materials going. All right, let's keep going with the houses. All right, pay and build, yes please. And do another one here. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's go grab some. We probably need to tear down some more stuff. We're probably running low on building materials. Now, if you're playing in survival mode, you probably would have been default set to the full component mode. So instead of on the right-hand side of the screen seeing those 4 categories, you'll probably have 30, I think is it 31 resources. You'll have 1 for every scrap type there, which makes this way more difficult than what I'm doing. And that's for the people who like the Horizon style gameplay. They want something a little slower, want to have to plan out a little more. That is what that's designed for. And I'm really glad we did that. It was a lot of work to get those 3 different methods in, where you can play with the categories, the individual, or the full component. I think it added some nice options so people can play this at kind of whatever pace they want. All right, how much food do we get out of the second guy? Oh, 7. Holy cow. We got some high endurance folks coming in. They must be wearing some. I got lucky on their gear, I think, because I don't think anybody has. What's your endurance, Paul? I can't check anybody's stats because I don't have the Vitaminatic yet. Okay, let's see. That's almost built. How's our objective looking? I can tell we already had some of the weird objectives where it was like bouncing up and down in the numbers, which is fine.
Look at this place all higgledy-diggledy and held together with duct tape.
Thanks, old Paul.
Still, guess everything starts somewhere.
So now we get to find out if so we did a change. I don't think I documented it in the patch notes, but I did a test with old Paul, because I noticed that all of the SS2 settlers are way more chatty than the vanilla settlers or even mod added settlers. And I tried to tinker with old Paul to make it so that he doesn't constantly prattle on about the same messages over and over again, like that duct tape one. I felt like every time I was loading the save or walked next to him, he'd say that line, and it was like, okay, I could see why people would start to think he was grating, even though I love him. And so I did an experiment with the 2.0 patch to try and make him talk less. I don't know if it worked or not. All right, let's check our objectives again. And this rain is depressing. I'm gonna have to use a cheat command on the weather here. So one of the things with so we are running into the objective issue, which I know a lot of people have run into at the If I Hammer. The nice thing is every time a plot gets built or somebody gets assigned, it'll go reevaluate all that and hopefully update the objectives. But I'm gonna save this as a investigate. So we'll call this I'll go to MQ03 is the quest, my code name for it. MQ03 objective issues. So we did get that at least. So we can do that now. We'll see if it gets stuck or not, or if the quest will actually complete. So I think I've got my 5 residential here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see if they're all assigned. Yep. And then we've got the 5. Yeah, so I think we are running into it. Okay, cool. So we got a nice save to try and debug that, which is nice. Because I'm sure a lot of you guys get stuck on this would like that resolved. All right, so we're going to try forcing it with just some reassignments. Oh, we got our first building material update, which is... Oh, yeah, I guess I skipped 8 hours. Like, wow, that's fast. But yeah, I skipped some time. So we kind of cheated there. What about you, buddy? You got a house? Yep. Old Paul, you got one? No, it looks like you might not have one. You do have your building material plot. All right, let's go get you a house. Come here. Okay, so first mission accomplished of triggering a common bug, so that I have something to research to try and fix it. We'll see if we can get this to work. Okay, there's that. All right, I guess we'll go with the. We'll just build another one and see what happens. Because I am not gonna tab out and start fixing quests. I think that would get all of you to tune out and go to sleep. All right, so we're gonna build another one here. Let's grab a random person. You're gonna go ahead and build that. We'll see what happens. And if this gets stuck, then we'll just call it. We'll go to Q&A, and then we'll pick it up next time. I was hoping to get past these first 3 quests, though. That was my goal for tonight. I thought that would be a good starting point, because if we do 3 quests per stream, we'll be to Chapter 2 at the end of January, which would be cool. Because I'd like to get to Chapter 2 as quickly as possible. But I know there's so much to talk about with Chapter 1 for people who have never seen it. A lot of people have asked me to do a Let's Play so I can give my notes on what goes down in Chapter 1. And hopefully, again, running into bugs always makes me happy when I have my own saves to deal with. Because it's way easier when I know exactly step by step what happened in a save than it is to try and poke you guys for tons of information to figure out what went down. All right, so while we're doing that, I'm gonna also try powering up these plots and see if that makes a difference. All right, let's see. How about you? You got a little bit of power left over. Bring this a little closer. And of course, yeah, I'm not gonna have enough power for that, but some of them should get power. You got power? How about you, buddy? Yeah, okay, you two got some power. Yeah, well, this is actually like one of the main. There were a couple of reasons I wanted to do this stream, and one of the biggest reasons was like I need to have like a proper playthrough to test these issues, because I think a lot of times when I'm testing an issue, say there's 2 ways I do it. Either I ask you guys who are having the issue to send me a save file, or I use the quest skipping in the cheats to jump right to a quest and test from there. And I think that second method can create invalid situations, because when the quests get skipped, it's done a lot differently than if you did it manually. And then if I'm using your saves, because I don't have your full load order, that creates like weird oddities, I'm sure. So like doing it in my own save and running into it is the only way to guarantee I'm going to get a realistic scenario. Okay, so it looks like we do have the if I had a hammer issue, which is awesome. I mean, it's a bummer for the fact that we don't get to go any further. But we're going to switch over to Q&A. Oh, and I got a long save. Yes. Okay, this is perfect. So I've got some amazing stuff to research after this stream. So I'm getting like this is what you guys are talking about, right? The auto saving is up there. I can't move. It's taking, an auto save should never take more than 4 or 5 seconds, especially like I'm on an SSD drive. That was like 15, 20 seconds. That's way too long. And especially considering I have we got 11 plots. Like, this is nothing. We have almost nothing in this save file. There's no reason for it to have taken that long. And I just made a save a few minutes ago, so this is great. This is fantastic. All right, so we're going to save in a proper, let's do this. What did I name it? ALPMQ03. End of stream, we'll call this. And this will be also a good note for Luke. This will be a good spot for you to edit down. So for those of you guys who are just here for gameplay is basically over. Let's get to some happier weather. I'm going to go to like full chat engagement in a second here. And I'm going to just go, I'm going to go for a while. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, stuff you want to talk about. I'm sure we're going to get into heavy spoiler territory because a lot of you guys are hard up into Chapter 2 already and probably have some questions about the late game stuff. And I'll talk about it. I'm happy to talk about anything. So if those of you who are worried about spoilers or just came here for the gameplay, I will catch you guys next Wednesday. Otherwise, everybody who wants to hang out, I'm gonna hang out for a couple hours. Let's talk. So let me fix this weather because I hate the rainy weather. And I'm just going to hang out in the save and see if anything updates because I'm just curious. And then we won't save it again. All right, so we'll just leave that there. Let's get chat up on my other screen. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, post away. I'm not going to double back through the chat just because it's like 2 miles long. But yeah, the long save thing has been going on since launch day and all through testing. I mean, we worked on chapter 2 for a long time, and not only like we had the alpha build of that available, I want to say of like the major code changes to the core, done in probably April. So we've been testing for a better part of 6 months. And like some of the testers ran into it a couple of times, but it never was like a repeatable thing or anything that anybody could give me clear information on. So we just kind of moved on from it, and I was never experiencing it. So we never thought anything about it. And then of course, when that's like for some of you guys, it's like 20 minutes, that's unacceptable. That's like, well, this mod's going away, right? You aren't gonna play with a mod that gives you a 20-minute save. Thank God that's not everybody. Let's see here. When will you fix casting a line hostage negotiating quest section to raider boss trigger the conversation? I have no idea what you're talking about. Usually anything chapter 1 at this point, we rely on our core testing team or the people flagged as community rock stars to report details on that stuff to us, because it could take, it would take all of someone's energy to keep up with the forums on the team and try and keep up to date with all of the stuff. So we've assumed that everything in chapter 1 has been fixed, other than a couple of the most common issues people run into chapter 1 that I'm aware of are this quest, which I ran into, which is awesome. I ran into it so they can fix it. Not that that's a bug. The other one that we see a lot is people getting stuck in the sub basement of quest 7, which now I don't even remember the name of the quest. I just know it's quest 7, but it's in the Vault Tech HQ in the sub basement. There's a lot of times, like, depending on the order you click on things, apparently it can cause Jake to get stuck. That's a common bug we're aware of in chapter 1. And then the other 2 issues are in where there's smoke, which is quest 11, where one of them, if you're using full dialogue interface, I know the radio thing doesn't work correctly. And then depending on the weapon you're using, when Aiden first appears, the dialogue gets stuck there too. And we have no idea why that is. And those are like the standing issues that people have workarounds for that I would love to get resolved. But other than that, I wasn't aware of any issues in chapter 1. So please keep reposting those to the forums and walk through exactly what you clicked on and give me as much detail as you can. And then that stuff ends up getting relayed to my desk from people who are great at replicating this stuff, because we need replication steps too, because if it only happens to a couple of people, chances are high it's some sort of mod conflict or something. So that's why I rely on folks on the forums relaying it to me, because there are a lot of amazing people in this community who take the time to give me steps to replicate, because otherwise if I have to chase all that myself, I won't be able to ever develop any expansions, because it takes so much time to help out with people's load orders and stuff. Let's see here. Let me back up a little bit. I talked way too long on that one. But Oscar Fry, please report that on the forums. I would love to get that fixed if it's a common issue. I wasn't aware of it. And hey guys, I noticed some of you are tagging me, which is awesome, because then I see the bright orange. So everybody get a question, please tag me with at King Gath, and I'll see it easier in the chat. So I'm gonna, because I didn't say that until now, I'm gonna try and read through all of this chat for a minute. Will every faction be able to have an HQ with the entire HQ system? It's hard to say. So at some point during development, HQ was hard coded to what it is now. And I'm gonna try not to spoil on that for those of you who haven't made it through chapter 2 or that far in. But because I am a junkie for supporting add-on development, I went through and recoded the core back end of that system to support multiple HQs. So in theory, a save could have 128 HQs in it. The chances of enough add-on pack authors embracing that are pretty slim. But in theory, yes, a player could have multiple HQs, but I'm sure there are some things we didn't think about because we were focused on a single HQ development. So there'll probably be some bugs that come up as soon as an add-on pack author introduces a second HQ. So I'm very excited actually to get the Builder's Toolkit updated so that people who are really into it can start experimenting with what happens when there are multiple HQs in a save, because I have no idea what'll happen right now. Let's see. Did your disease system interfere with the rest of the game? No. In fact, we didn't mess with the mole rat disease at all. In fact, one of the reasons we created that custom disease cure is because I didn't want to mess with the disease cure from the vault quest, and I realized it would be really obnoxious if we had to have a secondary disease cure, like a custom one. In fact, there already exists. Like if you dig into the CK, you'll see that, or into Xedit through our mod, you'll see, I think it's in ss2.esm, we have a cure created for every individual disease. And I thought that might be something we introduce later for hardcore players, because I know some of you guys are gluttons for punishment and don't mind when there's 50,000 different items to collect. I hate that. I think like inventory management is one of the worst parts of Bethesda games. So having a singular disease cure was done partially to prevent interfering with the mole rat disease cure. I didn't want to mess with that. Let's see. Is the quest catastrophe prevention drive supposed to start automatically after? I have no idea. So CPD, for those of you guys who've been paying attention to the hot fixes, there's been almost 0 CPD fixes because I was completely out of the loop on the production of that quest line. There were 2 people, ND County and and now I don't know how to say your name. I always just call him Sag. Sagittarius. The 2 of them were the heavy developers on that, and there was a huge problem in development. Midway through development, the CPD quest line got destroyed in Emerge, and it was like they probably got PTSD over it. ND County and Sag, and probably hate having to deal with the CK, and are probably worried every time there's a merge that they're going to lose a lot of their work. And I feel bad for them because it's happened to me as well, where we've done a merge and some work I did got destroyed, and it sucks. So anyway, so I've avoided touching any of the CPD stuff because I don't want to break this delicate system we've got, and I know there are a lot of bugs with it. But I've told everybody on the team to like take it easy until after the holidays, and like so we have no team meetings going on right now. It's basically just I'm fixing as much as I can. And occasionally some of those guys are tossing me some fixes or giving me some information, but I'm trying not to prod them constantly because I don't want anybody to burn out. And like we did several months, like at least I want to say about 2 months, maybe even 3. Some of the team will probably say 6 of hardcore crunch, where we were all working every single day on this for many, many hours. We can't have team burnout or you guys aren't going to get a chapter 3. So everybody's kind of on break. So it's some of the fixes are coming fast and furious because I know how they work. Some of them are going to be a little slower. CPD is one I have almost 0 information for you guys on, unfortunately. Let's see. Whisperfire, are you planning on doing more streams of us on Wednesday? Yeah, every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. So like there may be some Wednesdays I just can't because life. But I'm going to try and do it. I almost was going to have to miss this coming Wednesday, but fortunately I had my calendar screwed up, so it worked out. I am going to be able to stream next Wednesday. But yeah, that's the plan is every Wednesday until we get through this quest line. So like I will 100% for you guys have in either the next hotfix or the one after that, I will have sometime between now and next Wednesday, I will have a fix to If I Had a Hammer, because I have to fix it for my own save and I'll know how to fix it now, which is going to be awesome for a lot of you. Let's see here. Ooh, rolling back up. How do we reposition the workshop resource HUD on console Xbox? That is a great question. Let's see if I can pull that off. So we're going to go into, I think we're going to holotape. Actually, no, I think what we're going to do for that is we're going to build. So this is Ram's question. Pardon me, I get hiccups there. All right, let's build ourselves a city planner's desk. So we need some glass and some aluminum. You know what? We're not saving. I'm just going to TGM here because we're not going to save again. So build ourselves city planner's desk. So city planner's desk is kind of like our central hub for everything you need to do with SS2 that's not done in the holotape. And we're going to go ahead and craft ourselves some tools. We want, what is it called? City manager tools. We want to cook this city manager tools here. And this is going to be something that is helpful for Xbox players a lot, or people who don't have F4SC on PC. So this will open up all sorts of stuff. It's in the aid tab because we wanted this to be hotkeyable. So we're going to hotkey the city manager tools. And if any, there's going to be a lot of stuff that none of you guys have ever seen before, and you're probably wondering how the hell was I supposed to figure that out? And there's no great way. Like it's, it'd be impossible or irritating as hell if we had pop-ups for all this stuff, or to have every single character talk about all this stuff all the time. So some of it is just kind of tribal knowledge. Like I think a lot of this stuff is documented on the wiki, but some of this stuff is it's just inevitable. It's going to be tribal knowledge. I think it's the same with every game. Like you can't, like Minecraft doesn't hold you through every possible combination of building stuff because it would be obnoxious. Some of it's got to be explored, unfortunately. All right, so we're going to do HUD position controls, and we want to do resource panel. And okay, there we go. So now it puts the HUD in this weird mode, and we can do these. It's not fast. It's not a great option. It's what we got. But you see I did nudge left, and it'll come up again. Nudge left, it starts scooting a little bit left. This is how you do it on Xbox. Let's say we can do scale up. We'll do nudge down, and it'll just show you the change slowly. And then when you're done, you also have this option, show HUD for 5 seconds, to where you get a chance to see where it's going to be, because sometimes HUD framework is a little bit wonky. And it's not because of the creator of HUD framework, but just because the system they tapped into to pull this off on Xbox has some limitations to it. And this is one of the reasons why our HUD has never been snappy. It's just because it's just by the nature of the HUD framework we're tapping into, and it has limitations from the engine. And then you hit go back when you're done. You can pick another panel. So like if we wanted to do the status meters, that'd be the thing on the left. It should highlight in just a moment. There we go. And now we can start nudging that. So I know some of you guys on Xbox, if you're playing on a certain screen resolution, these things will both be cut off to one side or the other. But you can do that, and you just slowly tweak it to where you want it. And then when you're done, finish modifying HUD panels, and it should hide them all again. So that's what should happen. So City Manager Tools is an aid item you craft at the City Manager's desk. So that's probably something a lot of people could have used that knowledge over for a while. All right, Randy's WSG King Mass spoiler. Will that new power armor be available? Maybe. So one of the, probably. We haven't thought about it yet. So I know which one you're talking about. A lot of people have asked for that. You can actually get a version of it now because it is from another mod. Tumba Jumba created that. I'm sure somebody would be happy to dig up a link for it. Actually, I'll go ahead and do that. I don't want to rely on other people to do my dirty work here. I can search on Nexus while we're talking. So Tumba Jumba, I think his name was, created this power armor ages ago. It's like let's see, the mod number 7841. So it's like one of the year one Fallout 4 mods. And it's really just a bunch of combat armor converted into it. And he gave us permission to use that in the mod. I think he actually has open permissions on that now. We did some tweaks to it. We found there were a lot of bugs in the mesh. And so we fixed the mesh a lot. So our version is better on that technically. And we upped the textures. We increased it to the 2K textures on PC, 1K on Xbox, 4K for S2 Extended, I believe. So like our version is better technically, but that's where it's based on. You could go get that right now. Let's see here. Dagnar D, can we get each room in HQ instead of the layout map to assign work? We are going to do a lot more quality of life in HQ. So HQ has like a long, this is going to be something I'll probably be working on and adding features to for the next 2 years because there's so many ideas for it and so much depth we want to add. But the first step was we need to get a stable platform to build on. So we needed the construction system and like the room interaction and the departments. And there's so much more depth coming to that, which I'm happy to talk about because a lot of it I put in if you look in the mod description on Nexus, we've got a section called the future, and I listed some of our bigger plans for Chapter 2 that we'll be doing between Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, some of the stuff you can expect for the major post-launch patches. And HQ's quality of life is a big one where some of the quality of life stuff will come from your guys' suggestions. A lot of it we already know we needed. It was just like it became a point of we could dump infinite time into it and never end up releasing anything. And then the longer we took to release Chapter 2, it delays certain people on the team from starting work on Chapter 3, especially the writing team. So at some point we just have to we need a release. It keeps everybody on the team motivated, keeps everybody in the community excited. And so we decided quality of life is usually the stuff we can do post-launch because for a lot of people, they're going to play through the mod one time, play through the story content, and that's it. And then those of you guys who are hardcore, who are going to really get into the systems, I think you guys are going to stick around long enough to where you'll see those quality of life things pop up in patches. That's kind of my logic behind it all. It's not ideal for some of you guys who want this stuff now, but that's, sacrifices have to be made. This is a massive project. It's with so many people involved. There's inevitably stuff has to be juggled around. We got to figure out what to focus on at different times. We can't do everything at once. Let's see. Dapper Fire, will the Enclave ever be present with the mod? And if so, would you guys take over a look at the America Rising mod for a possible team up? Okay, so I will say very unlikely that we involve ourselves with the Enclave, but I have already had many talks with America Rising's author, Adelino, about doing some stuff, and I don't want to spoil what he's working on, but I will say we've had many talks about it. He's very excited about some of the potential things that SS2 could bring to the table. for him and vice versa. So we've had conversations, but I can't go any further than that because I have no idea where he's at in his dev cycle. I don't know what he's committed to, but I'll just say, yes, we've had those conversations. Let's see here. Sombra, I'm having the HQ with the regular HUD of settlements. Any idea why that could be? No, I have no idea. I've never ever had that problem actually, which is odd. So, yeah, that should not be. You should get a totally different HUD in HQ than you get in your settlements. There's a couple of overlaps, like we repurposed the resource panel on the right and the status meters panel in HQ. Like we created slight variations of them while you're in HQ, but the top up there should be totally different in HQ. I don't know what would cause it to be different. I don't think IDAX could have anything to do with it. That's gonna be a tough one. That might just be, got to post your load order on the forums and see if somebody can identify a problem there. Let's see. It's a name. Is there a doctor in the house quest? Been trying to figure out how to get Cassandra on the wiki. Saw something about needing 30 house spots, something, but that didn't seem to work. So there, the two of the quest lines, the Nightingales and the CPD, have multiple triggers available. One of them is 30 residential plots across 3 settlements. So you need to have at least 3 settlements running, and you got to have at least 30 residential level 1 plots up and running, and they have to be active. Like, you can't just plop down empty plots. They have to have somebody living in them. I don't think power is required, but they have to at least have someone living in them to count toward that. At least that's how it's supposed to be set up. Could be a bug in that. That is one way to trigger them. Another way to trigger the Nightingales is getting to the new plots on the block quest in chapter 1. If you reach there, the Nightingales, they will have a door that will appear outside of Diamond City. Let's go ahead and head over there. Let's see if I can remember my console commands. COC Diamond City exterior. Now, for some people, I've heard that the Nightingales appear immediately. That's just a bug. So the intention has always been to have them show up with all of our new content. Everything new we added chapter 2. So whether it be the Concord, people moved into Concord, Nightingale, CPD, the Stranger, or Jake, everything we want to be as a result of something you did. We try not to just like cram down your throat new stuff. I think the only exception to that, the only thing we broke the rules on that is the Ron, because he needed to exist in order for some of his story content to make sense. And then the Jake's hardware store, and then I think we have one Nightingale wandering the world. But we wanted, because my thought process has always been, if we inject a whole lot of stuff in the game when you first load it up, then it's effectively us rewriting Bethesda's story, which I don't think is something we should do. We should be adding to it. And so having stuff happen in response to stuff you do feels more like we're adding to their story after the fact, and it's dynamic, and it feels like it was earned and feels like something you did, as opposed to us cramming it down your throat at the start. So we try and very minimally add new stuff to the start of the game. We want the stuff to appear as you go. So the Nightingales will move in right here, and it should happen pretty quickly. And Cassandra is a Nightingale who you can eventually recruit. So spoiler alert. You will, this door should appear here. If you didn't finish new plots on the block, it might not be allowed to appear at all. There may have been a mistake in the setup we have of that. I know we ran into a lot of crossed wires where different people on the team thought different triggers were supposed to occur. We went back and forth in it. I'm not even sure anymore. In fact, the last time Sag and I had a discussion about it, we were just like, I don't even know. I don't know when they're supposed to appear. But as long as they're not appearing at the start of a game, I'm pretty happy with it right now, so that it feels like something in response to you rebuilding the Commonwealth. That's what should attract these factions to start forming or start showing up in the Commonwealth, is you rebuilding. That's the goal. If you made it to the quest, is there a doctor in the house? It's supposed to force the Nightingales to appear. So if you made it all the way to is there a doctor in the house and there's no door here for you, something is seriously broken in your save file. That's what I will say. And I would say, if you could, go to the simsettlements.com forums and post a description of your problem under the questions and help. And if you would, take your .fos save file, hopefully you're on PC, .fos save file, and drop that on Google Drive, share it publicly, and put a link in there with your post and tag me in it, and I will go look at it. I love looking at, when we first launch a expansion or a major patch, I love looking at save files. Like, after, give me 2 months, like come end of January, I'm going to be tired of looking at save files, because we'll have moved into development of chapter 3, and then I just won't have as much time. But right now, I love looking at save files. It makes troubleshooting way faster. Let's see here. Southern Durden, what kind of pacing did you guys have in mind for the mod in relation to the vanilla main quest? So throughout the main quest, we will drop you hints where we expect you to be. So like, for example, I think when you finish quest 3 or quest 4, maybe it's quest 5, there's a point where Jake suggests you go, he asks about your kid and he suggests you go look into that. And that's kind of like, okay, we expect you to go find Nick and go on that. So there's various points where we try to give you an idea of where we expect the pacing. But at the end of the day, you know, this is, even though people joke about Fallout 4 not being an RPG, it is an RPG, and you're supposed, and it's open world, and you're allowed to do things in whatever order you want. I know most of our stuff is straight linear, and that's just because development time is so long, just on linear, and then you start adding in branching paths. It's just a nightmare. Like, one of the things I think Bethesda doesn't get enough credit for is the fact that you can beat the game with 3 different factions. And they each have a different, you know, you're blowing up a different facility, and you can take all of the factions almost all the way to completion before you have to choose. Like, that's really hard to do. It takes a lot of effort. And we don't have the bandwidth for that. So we have opted not to do that. But anyway, it's up to you. Like, you could do none of the main quest. We definitely gave, with chapter 2, we gave some motivation. If nothing else, just in the trailer, we gave some motivation to work on the main quest of Fallout 4 as well. Like doing some tie-ins, because we're always thinking about this. Like whenever we have our writers meetings, like I'm constantly talking about, and any of the writers who have been present can back me up on this, but I always am mentioning the fact that most of the time we should be thinking about players coming in after not playing Fallout 4 for a year and starting up a fresh character, and we want to feel like we're just naturally a part, and they can do our stuff, do the main quest in whatever order they want. It should feel good. Because I think that's a lot of how people play Bethesda games. Or, you know, some of you guys, well, a lot of you guys who are still watching the stream are hardcore, and you guys play all the time, and I get it. I play Fallout 4 pretty much every day. But the majority of players are not like that. They're going to come back to Bethesda games once a year, once every 2 years, and that's the baseline we have to story from, and so we have to assume that since that's the majority of players, like, that's our story decisions are based around that idea. So don't have a particular pacing in mind, but we do try and give you hints and encouragement to go tinker with the main quest a little bit. Let's see here. El Diablo, can you explain what the 000 HUD elements represent in the HQ? Yeah, the first number, and this is one of those things where I wish I had more time to work on the HUD, because I would love to add more like little information things that come up temporarily, like little visual things that pop up to explain this stuff. But the first 0 is your always being used energy. So like in logistics, you'll see you have it because of the supply agreements. Like, that number represents, this is the amount of energy that's just being used every day. The second one is the amount of energy being used for projects. So that's temporary. So once the project's done, you'll get that energy back. And then the third number is your max energy. That's how much your department is producing. Let's see here. Oh, come on. Every time I scroll my mouse wheel in the YouTube chat, it like jumps all over the place. So I just lost my spot. Okay, I'm probably going to miss somebody's. I apologize. Let's see. Keldane, any reports of HQ suddenly saying it has no capacity for workers, despite being a few in-game weeks, how past HQ? Yes, there is a bug some people are running into that I have no idea how is possible, but the cell will reset, and it deletes everything and breaks all of the back-end stuff. Now, we did one hotfix for it, where on the start of the hotfix, it would regenerate all that stuff, and then I rigged up all of the controller objects to a protected class to where the game is not able to delete them. But if your save was in a state where it can't run startup stuff, which can happen if you've got conflicts with Workshop Framework, you can end up in a save where it never runs the hotfix code. If you had one of those, then your save is just in bad shape and there's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is try loading up the latest patch and rolling back to before that happened and hope that the hotfix triggers kicks in. Otherwise, you could roll back to before HQ started, and then it will generate all of its new data will be based on the protected things so that it can't happen. But I would love to know how. My guess is a mod, like some sort of F4SE plugin or something like that is causing it, but that cell is set to not reset. If you go, anybody who knows how to build a workshop, if you look at the HQ cells, they're all set to not reset. The location set to not reset. The encounter zone set to not reset, but for some players, it's doing it anyway. And so if we could figure out what's causing that, I will slap that all over the incompatible list on our wiki, because that's no good. But I've had people in test, like one of our guys in testing had a super minimal load order and had it happen, but we've never been able to figure out how it happened or repeated. And I don't know what his F4SE plugin setup was like. Let's see here. Are you running an ENB? I might be. It's if I am, it's gonna be. I don't remember. I don't even. If anybody knows how to check, I can go check, but I don't know how to check. I had an ENB at one point, and I don't ever really delete those. But I did do a clean install of Fallout 4 over the summer, and I don't remember reinstalling the ENB, so I might not be using one right now. Let's see here. Oscar Fry, we need the Ron DLC that show him becoming the Ron. Big fan of the Ron. Let's see. Canuck 82, that door is used by Joey R Guns for Hire mod. Okay, that's another awesome thing to bring up. Okay, so for those of you guys who are using mods that share locations with SS2 in our holotape, after one of those doors shows up, so I haven't seen any, so there's not going to be here yet, but a new section will appear under tools called hijack, and all of our doors can be disabled and re-enabled on the fly. So if you're playing a mod that's using a location, or let's say you get a quest objective from a Radiant, like a BOS Radiant, or even one of our Radiants. I think some of our Chapter 1 Radiants have this problem, and we just haven't tied into them yet. You can disable our doors and then go to whatever cells are underneath it. So that particular Nightingale location is temporary for us. So basically you could go to it, finish those quests, and then once you're past the point where the Nightingales are using that location, you could disable our door permanently so you have access to the Guns for Hire location. Same thing with like Depravity. I know we both use the new Fallons for stuff. You could just toggle our door and get into theirs, and then toggle ours back and forth and get access to them. So that was something that was important to me because I want to be compatible with as many mods as possible. Now there's going to be some points where it's just impossible. Like for those of you who played Depravity all the way through, you know what happens to GNN at the end. And obviously, like, technically we're compatible with that because we have a separate cell, but it'd be you'd have to really do some mental gymnastics to explain how that is acceptable in your playthrough. So like some of it just comes down to, you got to just think about it like story choices. But we did try to make sure that you can always use any quest mods and that you can do vanilla quests. So you should be able to just disable our doors on the fly. Let's see here. Gabman, do sanitation plots benefit from any settler special stat? I remember us talking about perception modifying it, but I don't know if that ever got implemented. I think the talk was sanitation was going to use perception for something and hospital was going to use intelligence, but I don't know if that got implemented. So that might end up, there might be a to-do note in the code about that, or maybe it happened. I don't remember. Let's see. Hemoflag, if you get recognition by the Voice Actors Guild, which characters are you hoping to get new voice lines for? So one of the things, if you look at our Patreon, is we've been trying to, I've contacted several agents of voice actors who've done previous Fallout games, and several of them have said, yep, we'd be happy to work on that, but they need us to be, we need to have our project approved by certain voice acting guilds. And there's a couple of things holding us back. And one of them is that as soon as we do that, as soon as we get our project approved by voice actor guilds, we're required to pay voice actors. And voice actors are very, very expensive, and it could open up a can of worms that like open up Pandora's box of like, then all of a sudden all the people who have worked on the mod for years unpaid could suddenly be like, wait a second, this isn't right. So it's something that I'm not even sure we can actually pursue. It's like one of those like pipe dreams. I would love to get access to the vanilla faction leaders. That's who I would like to get the voice actors for. Maxon, Father. Those are the ones I would really like, because that opens up the doors for some really cool storytelling where our story feels like it's part of the main. Those are my goal, because those also wouldn't be the unattainable financially. Like trying to get Nate and Nora's voice actors, like those two are heavy hitters. They would ask for so much money for lines that it just wouldn't be practical. So my hope was to get some of the smaller characters that could have a high impact in our storytelling ability. But again, it's Pandora's box to get involved with voice acting guilds. Let's see here. Game saves are dirt slow and hang. Yeah, for a lot of people, I had it happen where I had like a 20-30 second save that I'd never seen before. And hold on, I gotta force the weather again. This rain is making me sad in the game. Let's see, and let's do set game hour to 11, and then we're going to do a little trick. Set time scale to 0.1. Don't do this in your real save. It'll break it eventually, but this will basically lock the weather for me and the sunshine. Okay, let's see here. But yeah, some people are having trouble with game saves. It's really inconsistent. For some people, it happens every time or near every time. Other people, it's once a playthrough. For me, that was literally the first time I've ever seen a slow save, and maybe it has something to do with me actually playing through from the beginning. It might be like all my cheat commands and COCing and TGMing just like protected me from ever seeing it. But so I'm glad I saw it, because it's one of those things, like when I saw those reports come in, it was immediately like, this is a mod killer problem. Like if this does not get fixed long term, like people will just stop using the mod. And so this is like #1 priority for me, but it is such a complicated thing. I have no idea how to fix, because we have no control over saves. It's not like we get to choose what data gets stored. We don't get to choose when saves happen. We have zero control over this. And I've never had to think about it and just build the mod and make it work. And like, that's hard enough. It's hard enough just to make this thing work. So then to have to like think about this low level tech stuff that I've never seen before, it's very frustrating, and it's important to me. I know some of you guys are like, this needs to be #1 priority. Stop with the bug fixes. It's like, this is high priority, but I can't just change things arbitrarily. I have no control over this. So this is like, we're in like hardcore research phase for this. There's a lot of threads going on in the forums to try and figure out what's going on. But it's going to take some time, because this is like new stuff. Like this might be one of those things where I've got to go make friends with some of the people who do F4SE plugins and ask them to do some monitoring stuff. And like, it could be a while. So I don't know. I'm going to do everything I can, but there's just limitations in knowledge here. And it's something new we've never seen before, never had to deal with. Okay, let's see. Oscar Fry, will we ever be able to trade stuff with Jake? So right now there are certain points in the early story where you can. You're not supposed to be able to. Like, I have everything in place to block trading, but I can't seem to stop it, and I don't know why. We don't want people to trade stuff with the characters. If you really want to play dress up with our character, because we do a lot of outfit changes during the quests. You'll see it a lot in chapter 2, but we have like multiple outfits for many of our main characters. So like whether they're in combat or normal, or like we have a quest moment, like the first time you see Jake again in chapter 2, he's missing his scarf because we use it as a prop in one of the quests. And like, so we do a lot of outfit changes. So we don't want you guys to try them, but if you really want to, the console command, if you click a guy in console and do open actor container space the #1, you get full access to anybody's inventory. You can play dress up with them. You can do that. And like, I'm not going to stop you, but that is why we don't encourage it, and I block it on everybody, because we do a lot of outfit changes as part of our quest stuff. Let's see here. We'll be able to recruit Lily. If you mean as a companion, no, but she's a settler, and you can recruit her to HQ later. Sam Phillips, King, as a settlement builder, will the competition be coming back for New Year? Oh yeah, absolutely. Competition will be back. I know we're going to have a little delay in the voting for this month, just because of our launch cycle. And for those of you guys who don't know, I had COVID really bad from like Thanksgiving until like after launch. Like I was out hard. Just didn't feel like myself, was mentally drained, a lot of flu symptoms, was really bad. And so like that derailed a lot of our development. That's actually why we didn't release in November, because of that. Like we were all set to go. I think we might've had to delay it anyway, just cause there were some quirks coming up, but it was like 100% delayed because of that, because I couldn't focus. So that is part of why we are a little bit behind on the competition. We definitely planned on taking a break on launch month. So we were going to have no city plan contest in December. That was always going to be the plan, because we thought we were going to launch in November. But yeah, it'll be back in January. We're just a little bit behind on the voting and stuff for the last one. Yes, we will be releasing tools for HQ creation. Absolutely. Technically somebody could start dinking around with it now, but it is super complex when you start digging into all the behind the scenes stuff. So it's going to take a mountain of documentation to get somebody to create their own HQ. I'm excited to see people try it, because as somebody, we did add-on authors private stream about a month before launch, maybe a little bit less than that. And somebody brought up the idea I never thought of mini HQs, where they create like a really tiny HQ with just a couple of rooms in it, just to experiment with and slowly add on it. And so like with that in mind, somebody could probably whip up an HQ pretty easily. Like, other than like there's an initial setup, there's like an initial minimal setup you got to do. That's pretty complicated. But then once you get past that, like adding more rooms is actually really easy. Let's see. Mansfield never leaves Vault 81 after being recruited, and how to make sure never starts up. What advice? What can I do? I mean, if Mansfield never leaves Vault 81, your save is in bad shape. You're going to want to install the latest patch, roll back to a save where that happened, and try it again. If it still doesn't happen, I would say you should roll back one more time, go park yourself in Diamond City or Good Neighbor, and let your game run for like an hour. Just like walk away. Just like leave your character there, go do something else, come back, and make another save, and then go try the quest again and see what happens, because my guess would be you've got massive script lag. Let's see here. Happy Nihilist. Shift plus Enter is normally the bind to open the E and B menu. If anything like looks low. Let's see here. So Shift Enter. No, nothing's happening. Do I have to be in console when I do that or anything? Yeah, nothing's happening there. Oh man, my stupid chat jumped again. All right, Jack Black. Chapter 3 could be Raiders in search for clean water or gasoline, Mad Max style. We got some big stuff coming for Chapter 3. I'm very, very excited about it because this is like Chapter 3 represents us. Okay, so Conqueror was started out as kind of like it was like a recruiting tool almost. Like when we originally conceived it, it was like we need something really cool for you know, around the anniversary of this, I think it was the second anniversary of Sim Settlements. We wanted something really cool, and people had always been talking about how cool it would be to have the city plans work at the beginning of the game. And so like I had been implementing that. That was the plan for the patch. And I'm like, oh my God, these would be so cool with Nuka World. So we started doing Nuka World raids, and I'm like, yep, this is really fun. And then it was like, but what about people who don't have Nuka World? And then we started like, all right, well, let's create our own version of, what's his name? I can see him in my head. The guy who's got the paper out in front of Nuke World, and he like gets you to run the raids. Anyway, we needed our version of that, and so then Jammer came to be, and then we started invite rate, and then we realized like, well, it's gonna be really awkward if a guy just walks up to you and be like, "Hey man, you want to go fight some settlements?" And it wouldn't have felt right. So we needed to build up to it. So we had to create a little backstory for Jammer, and then we got all into that, and it extended. But anyway, but it always felt like that's fine if you go do Jammer's questline. It feels natural. Otherwise, it feels awful. Just like Nuka World, like suddenly turning on all your settlements just feels terrible. It doesn't feel right. In the same way, I felt like the settlement or the raid mechanics from Conqueror felt terrible if you weren't doing a raider playthrough. Like if you just built a war planner's desk, it felt so contrived. Like there was no I mean, maybe if you did Minutemen, you could kind of get behind it. Like you follow Preston's path and you're like, all right, well let's turn all these settlements into Minutemen. Like maybe you can get around that, and it makes sense. But from Jake's quest line, getting to raid mechanics, like we needed all this build up. So like I think at the end of those of you who have made it most of the way through chapter 2, you feel like, okay, now if somebody handed me a war planner's desk, it would feel right at home with what I've done so far, even with Jake and his building thing. That's what we had to earn. And so like now I am ready for chapter 3. There's so much cool stuff we get to do. It brings it all full circle to back to the Conqueror stuff, and where it makes sense and feels like it's earned even through our storyline. So I'm really, really excited for chapter 3. Let's see. The CPD quest to go meet the judge. No one is there. No CPD, no judge. What can I do? If you missed my talk earlier about CPD stuff is going to get fixed en masse probably after the holidays. I've been trying not to nag all of our team about helping with bug fixes right now so they can kind of unwind and forget about the pain of crunch that we went through in November, October, and parts of December. And so the guys who worked most on CPD know it backward and forward. I'm trying to give them time off. So that's CPD stuff will all probably they'll all get fixed after the holidays. Let's see. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. Kyle, Monksack. Hey, King Gath, we're running our OTC at Abernathy and have dropped about 25 larger generators, 250 power, still showing up red. Any clue? So if you're talking about the power showing up red just in the vanilla HUD, like up at the top here, how I have it, power 3, that just means something isn't powered. If you've got, a full meter on the left-hand side of your screen in some settlements like mine is, then it means like all plots that absolutely require power to operate are good. So if you just have red power up there, it could be anything. It could be a light bulb's unpowered. It could be a plot. It could be literally if any item that has a power symbol in workshop mode doesn't have power, it's going to show up red in the vanilla HUD. Doesn't matter how much more power you build. You got to get everything wired up. Oh man, I hate this mouse wheel thing. They gotta get on. They gotta get this fixed. YouTube, come on. Okay, let's see. Gage, does modding take more knowledge about a system specific to a game and if its engine, or is more about coding? I mean, there's like minor coding that's required for something like sim settlements, like all these plot mechanics. It's incredible amounts of coding. Like any of you, people who have seen the source code for SS1 or SS2 probably wonder how this isn't just my job because there's so much code. It's so many like tens of thousands of lines. But if you're not doing that, if you're doing quests and stuff like that, or like weapons, it's almost no coding. Even quests, it's really simple to do mostly without coding. There's a lot of default scripts and stuff that are included with that Bethesda includes that you can just use as is, and you just fill out things called properties. So like the script, like maybe says like move a quest forward if someone dies, and then you just like add that to the guy and tell it what to move your quest to, and boom, you're done. So there's very little coding involved for a lot of modding. It's just if you want to get into crazy complicated stuff like this, then it's a ton of coding. BG Corporation, I have a question. Let's say I start the quest in Sanctuary, but later on I want to move people to another place that I own the script. Excuse me. I don't know who you're talking about. The longs should never stop their dialogue. I don't know how that's controlled though with the like vanilla people. I will say that I showed this earlier. I don't know if you were on for that, but we actually have a tool to move the main settlement that Chapter 1 relies on, and a little bit of Chapter 2 relies on it in a lesser way. So there's a lot of times where we have to pick a settlement. So for example, like in the first couple of quests of the game, we need to monitor a settlement to see where you're building plots so that we can have objectives like, you know, build them in Sanctuary Hills so we can monitor just that settlement. And so like there's a settlement in the background of some settlements too that's kind of like the main settlement. And so if you come into tools, advanced tools, change main quest settlement, you can pick another settlement in the Commonwealth that you have. And then you would need to probably manually move the key characters there. So like you'd probably have to like move old Paul there. And if you did it at the wrong time, it could probably make the quest really weird. So it's not something I advocate doing mid playthrough. It'd be something like, you get the stranger to show up in a new playthrough in a settlement. You're like, oh, I didn't mean for that one. And then that would be when you should choose to change it. But doing it after that could get dicey. Let's see here. Charmaine, are the first diseases supposed to quickly kill settlers on survival mode? No, they should. Settler death should not be enabled by default, even for hardcore players. If that is the case, if you guys are finding they're dying from diseases, then I did something wrong in the setup and I got to fix that. Because I felt like settler death was too hardcore a mechanic to just automatically enable for anybody. But maybe I screwed that up. So if anybody's finding that's the case, please let me know. The goal of the diseases. So I've had people comment on they wish diseases weren't enabled until they could do something about them. The point of the diseases showing up early, we made them super mild. So like all they do is reduce a couple of stats. They can't even incapacitate people, is to make sure that you're aware of the system and that you are irritated by it a little. So that way, when you meet the Nightingales and they start giving you the tools to deal with, that it's a relief and it feels like a really good reward. So we made sure this is like, we went through many iterations of this in testing to try and get to a point where it was like it just took in a lot of feedback about how they were feeling frustrated and like that their people were getting knocked out. So we kept lessening it and got it to a point where I felt like, okay, here's the low as we can go, where it's going to make itself known and it's going to be painful. And we want it to be a little painful, but not so painful that you can't play the game. Just painful enough to where it's a relief when you get a solution. And that was intentional. And that is how it's probably going to always remain. If you want to bypass that, that's what we have the cheats for in the game. So you can disable the disease system. You can force unlock all the building plans to get yourself access to sanitation right away. And if you build up approximately one sanitation plot for every 20 people you have, you'll almost never see diseases. Unless you do a lot of pollution. If you do a lot of high-end industrial and high-end power and water and municipal, you'll need multiple sanitation. But if you just build a general settlement, like one sanitation plot per settlement will cover most of your needs and prevent most of the diseases. So you have options to get around it, or you just turn it off. You just turn off diseases altogether. So it's supposed to make itself known, and if you hate it, kill it. Like there's multiple ways you can kill it with fire. It's not going to be for everybody. Like some people they came to some settlements for city plans. Adding in more character management is going to be the exact opposite of what they want. And like, we want to support everybody. So for some people, and I bet they think the disease system is lame and wish we went more hardcore with it. One of the things I have in the settings, which doesn't work yet, but is player allowed to get diseases. That's one of the options I'm going to add in the future, because it's like, I bet there's some of you guys out there, some of you Mascus out there, who would like to have to deal with the disease problem for yourself. And we'll let that happen. Let's see here. Yogi, who did the model animation for the little camera you get at Newfoundlands? That is that has a Nihur creation. Nihur, I think, would prefer if all I asked him to do were cool new weapons for some settlements. So he's done 3 now. For SS2, he did the Vitamatic animations. He did the full model and animations for the camera that you get in Conquered. I highly recommend everybody play through Conquer Quest and get that thing. It's really cool. It's one of those systems where it would have been like, if we had released that as its own mod, it would have been a hot files immediately, because it's such a cool system. For those of you guys who don't want spoilers, close your ears for a second. But basically, there's a character that shows up in Conquered after you do a couple of, so after the quest Well, in chapter 1, we've changed it. We retconned it in chapter 2. So now there's a new character who shows up there. His name's Edmund. He's a preacher. And if you go talk to him after you get into Well a little bit, he tells you about how he's been wandering the wastes, but he's got a flock of people who follow him. And people will start appearing in Conquered, and they will have little quests for you. Well, if you do the first couple of quests, a guy named Dylan appears. And if you go talk to him, he hands you a camera and asks you to sneak a picture of Jake. And if you're playing through a fresh playthrough, you get to do all this kind of like interweaved with our quest line of chapter 1. But if you do it, if your first time is loading up a save that already had chapter 1 done, it'll just kind of start happening after you rescue Jake. Spoiler alert. So you will get a camera, and when you take pictures of people, it gives you a little photograph in your inventory. You go give it to Dylan, and then he will be able to recreate that outfit and sell it to you. So it's like a little Pokemon collection, like a Pokemon Snap style thing. You get to go collect all the outfits, and a guy will be able to sell copies of them to you. So those of you who've been asking for Jake's outfit, that's how you get it. The only thing I'm bummed about with with that camera is I tried to go the extra mile, and I talked to Dante and Reg2K about how to do this, and they gave me some ideas, but I just didn't have time to go through with it. I wanted it to be take an actual screenshot when you took the picture, and then if you access the thing in your inventory, if you had F4OC, I wanted to show that screenshot. And they gave me a rough idea how to do it, but I just like, I don't have time to get into F4OC development. That's like an endless rabbit hole that you guys will lose me in if I start chasing that stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, no, it does not output files, unfortunately. I know roughly how to do it now, but I gotta keep focused. There are so many cool things we can do. I always go back to when I'm talking to the team, go back to a Todd Howard quote where he says, like, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And that's kind of the discipline we have to try and have on the team. And most people on the team will tell you I'm not great at that. I love to chase shinies, but eventually I always rein myself in, and then we slow down on that. And that's one of those points. Will there be a light version for the chapters integrated in SS2 since they're big file size on console? I would say there will be probably a light version after we're done with all the development, because it's going to be really hard to make a light version. It was relatively simple to do in SS1 because we didn't have a lot of quest content. Chapter 2, it's going to be really difficult. So I feel like that's going to be something after we finish the whole story. And the bugs are mostly worked out of chapter 3, and I'm just feeling like, okay, this is like we were constantly looking to like what's next in a sense, because we could go forever with this. Like, we have so many ideas of what we could do with the SS2 story and everything. But like thinking ahead, there's Starfield coming out, which might be amazing and might make us want to go play that. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe it's another Fallout 76. And don't get me wrong, for those of you guys who like Fallout 76, I actually ended up liking Fallout 76 after the Wastelanders, and I had a great time playing it. Got to the end game, and it turned into an MMO for me, and I had to get away from it. But for most people's perspective, 76 was a disaster at launch, and I think anybody can agree on that. So if Starfield turns into that, no one will care. We won't care. But we might want to mod Starfield, or maybe we want to make our own thing. I don't know. But right now we're looking at Chapter 3 will be kind of our final chapter for SS2, and then I want to do everything in my power to leave SS1 and SS2 in the hands of the community where they can do everything with it. So that's going to be open sourcing it all, making super ultralight versions for Xbox, like doing everything that I can to make sure that this mod can live on forever for people who are like, I'm never going away from Fallout 4, because there's still people who play like Fallout 3 to this day hardcore, and I assume there will be some number of people who do that for Fallout 4 who just play it for the next 10-15 years, and I want to make sure that SS1 and SS2 can be there with them. So that is the time period, like after we finish chapter 3 and we're kind of like wrapping up, and I'm thinking about, all right, how do I exit gracefully from Fallout 4? That's probably when I'll be doing a light version of SS2 where it's just the gameplay mechanics and the buildings and none of the story content. That's probably what a light version would look like. All right, I think I just saw a super chat, so let me do that real quick. Anthony Curtis, so the last update for Xbox seems to have fixed the save issue almost, except for quick saves. Normal saves are fine. So all I can tell you is all of the research we've done on the save stuff, none of the stuff I'm doing in the patches has anything to do with it. I really don't know. Like if you go read some of the threads we've got going, every time one of us comes up with a theory, somebody else gives us an anecdote that throws it out the window. So like we're at like 0 right now. The best hope I have right now for solving the long save issue is we're going to dig back through all of our alpha chat to when the first time people on alpha started noticing it, because it likely was like some major patch during alpha that introduced it, and then I might be able to compare the files before and after that patch and figure out what was the big change, and that might point us in the direction. That's my best hope right now, because so far everything everybody's reporting, it's so all over the place that there's no consistency for me to gain anything from, which is a real bummer. That's why this is like, I'm glad it happened to me, because I know exactly what happened in the save, and we can see how very little there is settlement wise and why it would make so little sense for it to go. So like I can actually analyze that save that we made, knowing it was fresh made tonight. I can go analyze it in Fallroom tools, and I'll probably learn a lot. So hopefully we get to the bottom of some of this. All right. Oh, let's see. Saito, what would be the point of having multiple HQs? I think role playing. Like I know a lot. Like I don't know about you guys, but I love when I play a new part RPG, is trying to play all sides. Like trying to like keep every faction alive as long as possible, and like trying to get as deep into each storyline without committing. And I think people could get into that. Like maybe you're like, you go down our storyline and, you build up our HQ, and then somebody else has like, makes a Brotherhood HQ thing, and you haven't finished the main story. So like, I'm going to go build a Brotherhood HQ too. And, maybe we don't force them to, we don't pit them against each other. Maybe they're allies. It's RP. Like I can't imagine like with how long HQ plays, if you don't use any of the cheats, and how expensive everything is in HQ. Yeah, it'd be rough to build multiple HQs in a playthrough, but if you're playing one of those, like I want this save to go 1,000 hours, it's like my second life, then I could see people want multiple HQs. Otherwise, just RP reasons, really. Will other factions be involved in the SS2 story at some point? The other factions are involved lightly in Chapter 2. They're probably going to get a deeper hook in Chapter 3. I mean, Chapter 3, there's a lot of stuff up in the air in Chapter 3 because we're trying to rein ourselves in and not turn it into another year-long dev cycle. Like our goal is to get Chapter 3 out at least a month before Starfield launches, because we know most of our audience is going to want to go try out Starfield, and if Starfield's good, it's going to suck people away for months. So we want to make sure we get that done. So some of our Chapter 3 plans are going to get reined in a little bit, but our initial talking points have always been that all of the factions would have a pretty heavy involvement in Chapter 3. So we'll see. But there is involvement in Chapter 2. There's a lot of tie-ins with mentions of stuff that happens. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but it's the depth. Like if you look at the trailer, you probably would expect way more than we deliver. And that's because we've been writing this whole thing as like one epic tale, and then we break it into chapters for motivation and to keep everybody enjoying the mod. So I don't know what's going to happen for sure in Chapter 3, but our plan long-term is to have some heavy integration with all the factions in some way. So we'll see. There's a little bit in Chapter 2 though. Let's see. When I went to rescue Jake and tried to get my weapon from the crate, Jake just teleported me and I completed the mission. That is a bug that's fixed in the next patch. It's fixed in the next patch. Somebody else pointed that out to me, that you could like cheat the quest by, you could cheat that first quest by going down the elevator after you do the stash, and then come back up and grab your stuff, and it breaks the quest, or it skips the quest, which is a real bummer. Viking, haven't heard from you in a long time. How are you? I really miss how Rise of the Commonwealth worked in SS Original. I don't see a quick, reliable way to jump past SS story and get equivalent of ROTC operational. You actually don't need to do any of the story. The city plans are available immediately. So technically they're introduced through the story, but you actually don't have to wait. Like, I knew people were going to want that right away. If you're talking about the pre-build, which was actually part of Conqueror, that will be making a return. That's one of the tricky ones. So like, that felt perfect with Conqueror to me, because it was always about if you're gonna play a Raider playthrough, then coming in and having all the cities pre-built makes sense. For the Jake storyline, having all the cities pre-built completely ruins the story. So like, we have to figure out how we're gonna do the pre-build still. It might be like an extra file you install, like an ESL file. We don't know. We're gonna figure that out with Chapter 3. But that pre-build will almost certainly come back with Chapter 3. If that's what you're talking about. Otherwise, city plans, yeah, you can get to them right away. The ROTC city plans, if you have them installed, they're unlocked immediately. Same with anybody's you install. I don't think we even have any city plans that unlock through story content. I think just all city plans are available as soon as you load up a new character. All right, we got a super thanks from No Thanks. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks for taking the time to talk about the project. Thank you, No Thanks. Appreciate the donation. Let's see here. I was playing Fallout 4 yesterday, managed to use up all of my plugins and managed to kill my save game, and Jake just randomly started following me around the map. That's always fun. Let's see here. Will other factions get involved in the story at some point? That's somebody else asked that, and maybe it was the same person. Hopefully I gave enough of an answer there. Kieran and the rest of this team, thank you for the wonderful mod. Brought me back to Fallout. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Anthony Curtis. So does SS2 use a system like IDEX Logistics Station? Now, IDEX is way more advanced than what we do. And it also, IDEX, the creator, is like all about simplifying things. He's not super worried about the immersion factor. And so his stuff is way more powerful than I wanted it to be. But I don't stop anybody from putting that stuff out. And so like, IDEX is great if you're not interested in like dealing with all the logistics stuff, and you just want that mod to like just make everything shared all out. What SS2's does is our caravan system is based on distance. So let's bring up the map here. So if you play Nuka World, you'll notice when you highlight over one of your raider settlements, it'll highlight a bunch of other settlements with a little vault boy in a chain. And that is known as the vassal distance. And we use that same distance for pretty much everything in SS2, because we know then people who played Nuka World will at least have a familiarity with the range. But it's 70,000 units, which I want to say is approximately like from Sanctuary to like right about where my arrow is. So everything in a circle around that's approximately 70,000 units. And so all settlements with a caravan plot will auto-link if they're within that radius. And the goal there was to have you like slowly spread out a network, as opposed to just having one settlement connect to every other settlement. It was like, okay, Sanctuary will connect to 10 Pines, and then 10 Pines will connect over to Crew Manor or whatever, so that it's kind of like you have to slowly build out a network. It doesn't take a ton of settlements, but it feels a little more natural and realistic. And that was kind of what we were going for. There are plans to add HUD elements to show you those ranges, but I have to learn a lot more about the HUD in order to do that, and that takes a lot of time. So there's certain things, like the stuff that I know how to do or already figured out, I tend to spend more of my time doing, because I can do stuff quickly. Whereas whenever it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I gotta learn some new stuff here, it can be, I call it a time sink. It's like, it's a bottomless well of God knows how long it's gonna take. And I tend to only do that stuff a few times a year, where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna let myself have this month to just work on this and figure it out. Like at the start, once Baron, the lead coder on HQ, once he was done with his part and it was time to integrate it, I took a month and I was just like, I'm gonna figure out all his code, start integrating it, figure out what we need to change to make it work with the vision I had for all this stuff. And like that was a bottomless well of time. Like it took just so many hours. And if I let myself do that all the time, then you guys are never going to get bi-weekly patches or bug fixes, or I'm never going to have time for meetings. So like I don't get a lot of chances to do that stuff. And the HUD stuff is one of those elements. Like learning how to tap into this map and like all that is going to be one of those type of projects. So one day is what I'll say. Let's see here. Whoa, another jump. Thank you, YouTube. Okay. All right. I don't know how to pronounce this one. Quatella? Any plans to add the new plot types, etc., to the default city plans? Probably not. So there are plans. One of my major patches I have planned over the next, between now and chapter 3, we'll probably have like, when we get to bi-weekly patches, it's probably going to be like, every other month I do some giant one that's got some big new feature. And one of those is going to be a city plan overhaul. We know that there are some bugs in the city plans, and I know some of the bugs are going to stay forever. Like some of the little like floaty items and stuff, it's just too much of a hassle to rebuild them. But some of them are like, we can just regen the power grid data, and that'll help a lot. Because like a lot of the wiring is all screwed up in some of our city plan designs, and that's an easy fix. But more importantly, we're going to do a code overhaul. Because I know for a lot of people, they get duplicate plots when the city plans upgrade, and that's one of those bugs where I can never duplicate it when I test. I bet I get it. I bet it happens in this save file though, since we got those 2 bugs right away, which is great. But I hadn't been able to duplicate it, so I haven't been able to deal with it. But I plan on like really deep diving into city plan stuff to fix code and to add in some of the missing elements. So with ROTC, we had like some cool HUD elements that would tell you your percentage and show you the level, and I want to bring all that stuff back and just like really focus on making city plans streamlined, because the way I envision a lot of you guys playing SS2 long term, not a lot of you, some of you will always play it the same way. You want to just hands-on, you build your settlements, you just enjoy the slow, relaxed gameplay. But I think some of you long term are going to be like, I just want to work on a cool HQ, especially when we get all the mechanics done for that. And then for those of you guys who are into that with a playthrough, you're going to want to be able to like hyper build up cities really fast. And so we're going to need really robust city plan code so that you can do that. So that you can be like, all right, I want to just build up a network, have it have tons of industrial, fill me up with all sorts of scrap, and then I can focus all my energy, right away after the first, 10 hours or whatever it takes to play through the first 2 chapters. And then that's going to be my focus for endgame. And for those of you guys, I want to make sure city plans work really well. It'll also benefit for by the time we get to chapter 3 is we need that city plan code to be rock solid for pre-build, because pre-build with bad city code is going to be broken saves galore. So we got to get that fixed up. So the only plans we have to mess with the old city plans are OTC, and the default ones are to fix the power stuff in them, because I know some of the power connectors are broken. And if there's any duplicate plot, if any of the duplicate plot problems are because they're baked into the city plan design as opposed to a code bug, we'll get those cleaned up. But otherwise, the city plans are going to remain as is. We did have conversations with a lot of the city plan authors. I let them know about the new plot types a while ago and encouraged them to add in a sanitation plot into all their designs going forward. But otherwise, we're just leaning on the fact that, it's real easy to change a plot around, right? Like you just walk up to the ASAM sensor and you can change the plot type. So you customize plot, and then you can change the plot type. So any plot type can be swapped out for any other, and then you can change the building plan on it and get what you need. So it's not a huge deal to change out a city plan anymore, right from the get-go, because unlike, there was a issue in SS1 where some of the plots didn't have the same model spacing, so only certain plot types could change to other plot types, which was really awkward for folks. But we learned our lesson, and in SS2, every plot type can be changed to every other, as long as it's the same style. Like an interior can change to any other interior type, or any 2x2 can turn into any other 2x2. Excuse me. All right, time for more water. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, and for those of you guys who don't know, hospitals and cemeteries are both regional. So one of the things we're keeping in mind going forward with any new plot types we add, because we will have a few more in chapter 3, is we got to think about your settlement layout. And we like when we did the 1.1 balance patch, like we factored in the fact that everyone's going to need a sanitation plot or 2 into their settlements, and like redid the numbers accordingly. Is like we got to keep that in mind. We got to like think about what a realistic settlement looks like, and like how many people or how many settlers most people can expect to have, and make sure that the numbers line up. We don't want to make this so that you have to have 40 different plot types in every settlement. It would become you would start to end up with like cookie cutters, where it's like, okay, well, I have no flexibility. I have to build these specific plots, which would get boring. And it would also become taxing on your memory to like memorize all this combinations. So we want to give you guys some wiggle room. And one of the solutions to that is regional plots that can handle multiple settlements. And that's what we did with the cemetery and the hospital. And we'll likely do that more with the new plots in chapter 3. Let's see. And the regional is that, again, we use that 70,000 range. So one of those things that'll also take advantage of when I take the time one day to learn the map code, so that I can get you guys some radial rings. Let's see. Hemoflag. Speaking of the camera, how do you get more camera film? You should be able to craft that at a chemistry station. I think you get the crafting recipe right away, or maybe it's at the city planner's desk. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong about that, if nobody can find a crafting recipe at either the chem station or the city planner's desk for more film, please post that. Please post that on the forums, and I'll get that fixed. I'm not sure what you mean, Karvak, about how would you incorporate other outfits from other mod authors into that picture. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if you're Jet and anybody else, if you're doing the first quest with the Nightingales in that ship, and you get to a point where there's like a pod. Let's see if I got one in here. Those, I don't remember what they're called. The capsules. They're usually it's like the thing up there on the hill. Let's run over there so I can show you guys. If you have this little capsule in that ship and you can't enter it, it means you probably have the Wasteland Reconstruction Kit and you're not on the latest build. Or in the latest build, I failed to put the right file in there because we found out that we had some weird files. So in Wasteland Reconstruction Kit, we add a lot of model replacers that make it so that a lot of the Wasteland Reconstruction Kit can have snap points. So if you get to the ship and you find this model in there and it's just blocked off and you can't walk in, that is from Wasteland Reconstruction Kit. Now, I thought I patched it. If I failed and everyone's running into this with that installed, please, again, post that on the forums. I'll get it fixed. But I'm pretty sure it's fixed. And like you just have to update Wasteland Reconstruction Kit so that the model replacer no longer has this door blocked. Let's see. Let's see, Oscar Fry, can you make it so that the outfits you have made can be affected by body mods like Atomic Beauty? That is outside the scope of what we're willing to do. But if anyone wants to commit to that, you will have my permission to release a patch. I am happy to bless that and shout the rooftops on it. Because, yeah, I figured a lot of people would want body slide stuff for our stuff, but we don't have time for that. We've got the outfits are probably one of the biggest nightmares in the mod development because we don't have people doing them from scratch. They're all mashups, and mashups are such a damn headache. Like like mad props to people like Eleonora who put out a bunch of mashup outfits because it's so hard. There's so much work involved. To the point where I'm pretty sure I'm going to tell the team in chapter 3 that we're going to like do 0 mashups because it becomes such a headache. We'll see. I mean, any of the team listening who likes doing it, but I think they all secretly hate it, to be honest with you. So I don't think I'm going to ever ask them to do body slide stuff. But if somebody wants to create the patches for that, I'd be happy to let them release it and give them permission. There are a couple exceptions to that because there are a couple of outfits we got permission from where they might have a problem with that. So we might have to like reach out to those people we got the outfits from and ask them if that's okay for their particular outfits. Let's see here. James Roden, with the settlement reputation system, what settlements affect Concord, and does leaving the Triangle of Death settlements mess up the repopulation? Okay, so I'm pretty sure the repop system is broken right now. Some of the testers sent me some stuff. I think I must have broken it with one of the, like right before we released. But the way the reputation and repopulation system works is that if your settlements have surplus food, water, or power, they will tag the areas nearby. So like the whole world is divided into these different regions, and it'll like flag those areas as having surplus resources. And the more you have, the higher this number goes, and the more likely repopulation will happen. The settlements that would affect, and most of that system, the world repop, is in Concord right now. Like our plan long term is to do it in pretty much all the derelict buildings in the Commonwealth, but we needed to start with somewhere and get the bugs worked out. And obviously, like nobody has seen, if you've seen in Concord, if you've seen a character named Concord Settler, that means the system's working, and that's great. But so far, my testers have all said it's not working. They have not seen anybody, even though they've got tons of surplus. So I think it's broken right now. But the goal of it would be to, if you build up your settlements with a lot of surplus, which, the part of this was thinking about when you get to an end game where you're building high-tech stuff, you're building high-tech farms, high-tech power plants, etc., that you're gonna have a lot of surplus. And we also encourage the surplus through the HQ system, as this is just a secondary benefit to having a huge surplus, as you get to see the rest of the world start fleshing out. So Concord will start having doors appear on all the derelict buildings, and people will live in them, and occasionally they'll start sandboxing around outside and wandering around Concord, and we want that everywhere. We want that in Lexington and any of the other little like town-like areas in the game. But we started with Concord, and I would say Sanctuary, Red Rocket, Abernathy Farm, Ten Pines are probably all within range to trigger that. I know for a fact Sanctuary, Abernathy, and Red Rocket are. I think Ten Pines is as well to trigger their overages will inspire that system. But I got to fix it first. Apparently it's not working. But once it works, that's the idea behind it. Is you build a lot of surplus resources through those high-tech plots, and then you get a secondary benefit of new areas to explore. And if people want to do it, like the system is set up in a way, and this is something that will get documented in the builder's tool or the add-on maker's toolkit, is they could put in quest giver NPCs into this system, or special shops that you can only get access to through this. Like, we want this to be a super versatile system, and it's something that makes each of your playthroughs a little bit different, because the doors are dynamically done. They're pseudo-dynamically done. It's basically like every one of the building skeletons. So here, let's go into Concord, and I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. Concord, is it Concord exterior? Yeah. And hopefully all the enemies are still dead. So now there are the Concord characters. There's also like the named NPCs are separate from this system. Like they were kind of like, they're inspired by that system, but the ones I'm talking about aren't necessarily those named NPCs like Edmund or Brannigan or any of you guys run into. These are like just generic Concord settlers, and they have a bunch of buildings that will start appearing. So like you see all these doors and stuff, right? So this building right here, this shape of a building, exists probably 20 times in the game. Same with this one. So what we've done is basically we've put these invisible doors at the doorways to these, and then we have a template for like this building, and then one of our designers, No Fuss No Muss, designed a handful of places that could fit this building type, that would fit nicely with there. And then like, let's say you build a bunch of surplus food and water in Sanctuary, and then you come back to town, it might be a door appears here to make it look like someone moved into this building, and you go in and it'll have randomly assigned one of the X designs that she did for it, and then that will always be there. So then like, maybe it's a house with 2 kids and a dog living in it, and you go in there, and every time it'll always be those same people. But then the next playthrough you do it, and you get the same door to spawn, and it might be like a guy who's really into jet, and he just sits there all the time just doing drugs. And like so every playthrough, it'll dynamically assign an appropriate building to a doorway once it triggers. And that system is fully injectable. So the hope is once we get templates for all the different building designs out there, and we unleash this on the add-on pack authors, there'll just be like thousands of different combinations of buildings, so that every playthrough new people move into different places. And they could be, some of them are unique named NPCs, others are just like the generic Conquered Settler, with where they'll get paired up to a building. It's kind of like the VIP system we originally had in SS1, but put out into the game world. It's kind of the idea behind it. And it's like the potentials of what people can do with it are way higher than plots without much work, because they actually create, when you create like a world repop cell for this building, it's its own cell, which means you have full access to the creation kit tools without having to worry about the dynamic nature of plots, which makes it a lot more complicated. Like anybody who pulls off quests on a plot are like god tier out on pack author, because it's so much harder to do than it would be to just build a quest into a cell. And that's why you don't see a lot of quests involving plots, because it's really painful. It involves a lot of coding. Let's see here. This mouse roll thing is driving me insane. I keep getting about to ask a question and then, or read a question, and then I lose it. Rams, did Chapter 2 add any of the previous mods like Conqueror or Apocalypse? I don't know what Apocalypse is. It did not add Conqueror. But Conqueror, the gameplay mechanics, not necessarily the story, will be the biggest. Like, that's going to be the big features for Chapter 3 are going to be the a reimagined version of the Conqueror mechanics. So like Conqueror mechanics, but that factor in all the new mechanics of SS2. Like factor in the fact that you've got these resource pools, and industrial is more important. It's going to be like a little, a lot of it'll feel familiar, but it'll be hopefully enhanced. So in the same way we took SS1, and I think we enhanced it across the board with SS2. And for those of you who disliked some of the SS2 changes, if you set your settings the right way, you can make SS2 play identical to SS1 or damn near identical, because like you can disable, you know, all the construction costs and all the new mechanics, and you can basically set it up so it's the same as SS1. And that same thing will likely happen with the Conqueror mechanics. For the most part, you'll be able to get it pretty close to what you loved in SS1 with Conqueror. But I think there's just too many opportunities that would be missed to just build it exactly as it was. But at the same time, I don't want to rebuild all that code from scratch, so a lot of it I'm going to reuse. Let's see here. Viking, as far as like pick up a tape and off you go building, I mean, like you should definitely get involved on the forums again. They'll tell you that all the guys, there's a very dedicated city planner group. In fact, they've even got a Discord set up. And they can tell you how to get started quickly. Like they definitely are in the same boat as you, and they've figured it out. And I think the only complaint I have standing from them, or the biggest one I have from them, is still that I haven't given them a way to just disable Jake from showing up. So they all have to like disable him in console. Oscar, no, our caravan system is intentionally isolated from the base game one. For the base game one, you can still use the base game one. We don't disable it. So ours is intentionally designed how it is. I will say, though, we do plan on there will be an HQ upgrade available in the future where you'll be able to do research to extend the range of caravans. So then you could get pretty close to it, to the vanilla system. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming, like gameplay mechanic wise, that will feel like cheats that you earned coming in HQ. That's one of the things about HQ that I've always wanted is the ability to give you guys the feel to unlock and get past, like bypass mechanics in a way that feels earned, where it doesn't feel like a cheat, where it feels like, all right, I invested all these resources, now it feels realistic that I have this thing. Another one that'll come in HQ is interworld space caravan connections. So like if you guys, and most of you guys have probably figured out now that Far Harbor ends up as its own little network. It never actually shares resources back to the Commonwealth, and that'll be one of the HQ upgrades eventually. It'll be being able to connect your networks together. And I don't know what we'll call the upgrade or how we'll phrase it or how much it'll cost, but it'll be some big thing where you felt like you earned it for that project and that it makes sense in the world. Like there's an immersion to it of like what your NPCs are actually doing to handle all those logistics. Like that's kind of what HQ lets us do, is let's add some immersion to some of the cheaty stuff. Sir Rick, hey, finally caught up, been watching on 2x speed. I will probably work on a layout file people can use the sanitation residential plot to just drop into my city contest plans. Yeah, that's another cool thing about layouts too, is you can stack those on top of each other or with city plans, so people could retcon their city plans and inject stuff in like that. That could be a thing you could do. Indecisive Wolf, heading to sleep in just a few. Wanted to say thanks for all the work from you and the team. Gonna dream about what a difference having those faction head VAs could make. Oh, I hope I didn't get anybody too excited about that, because it's a pipe dream. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. Let's see. Muse, how do city leaders work? I've never had any leader choices other than Codsworth. How does it work if you choose the same leader for multiple settlements? The leader system is buggy right now. So like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the leader system works the same as it did in SS1 for those who are familiar with it. And it basically, you assign a leader and they apply like minor perks. And some of them are actually pretty substantial, but they're basically like they'll provide little benefits to the settlement. Maybe they give you a flat boost to production on some sort, or some of them increase the speed that things upgrade, stuff like that. Little boosts to improve the settlement in some way or improve the mechanics. And if you assign an NPC in workshop mode, it does less than if you do it through the leader system, unless they have a leader card, is what we call it. So if you ever, all right, let's just, I hate just talking about the stuff in Ether when I can just be showing you guys. Let's go back to our city planners desk and I'll show you guys what I mean. I'm not going to have any people to choose from because I don't have any companions yet, which are the default leader cards. NPCs are the companions, like after you get them past their quests. So like the easiest one to get is Codsworth. I think after he joins you as a companion, like he's available as a leader. The leaders it can be anybody. You can grab any doofus settler and make them a leader, but the named NPCs have those special perks if they show up for you. And like I said, a lot of players are saying that they're not, and I've seen it myself where everything seems fine but it doesn't show up. But if you click assign city leader, so I'm getting this no unique leaders available, which is probably what a lot of you are getting. But if the system is working correctly, or when it's working correctly, it'll give you it'll say Codsworth, and it'll list his traits, and then there'll be an option to say next or back, and then another option will be like details, and then you can learn about what the traits do. And if you assign them that way, then you gain those traits. And I believe if you assign them manually, you will also get the traits because the system will look it up. So if you have a companion available and you just assign them in workshop mode to the desk, the traits should still work. You just won't know what the traits are because there's something funky going on with the leader card system. And other mods, I don't know if anybody's released add-on packs for that. I think they have. I think I've seen leader packs come around for SS2 again. It's been so long since I've looked at all the list of SS2 mods that are available. I know I did some features of them in news videos, but again, it's like the last 5 years is all blurred together, which is SS2, which is SS1. So I'm pretty sure there are leader packs available that add those leader cards with the traits for a lot more of the named NPCs. And we've always had a plan of adding it for all of our named NPCs. In fact, we've got Cynical, who's like a rock star on the team, who does a little bit of everything. Writing, art, and then some grunt work. And Cynical has created a list of leader traits to give to like people like Old Paul and Lily and a lot of the recruitable NPCs, and we just haven't gotten around to implementing it because it takes a little bit of time. Especially because we wanted to give all of them a unique major trait so that they stand out, so they have something special going on, and it would then expand the pool of leader traits available for add-on pack authors to use, which is always fun. But it's just one of those, you know, we can go infinitely deep on this stuff, and it's just certain stuff ends up taking priority. That's a type of feature, like, I'll be every other month I try and make sure one of our patches has something really cool in it, something like exciting. And that's the type of thing where one day I'll be like, what could I add for this bi-monthly like cool patch thing? And then it'll be like, let's add all the leader cards for everybody. That's kind of how it'll end up happening, I imagine. Let's see. Kane, don't know if you said this, but you said that SS2 Chapter 3 is the final chapter. Is SS3 Conqueror? Sort of. So Chapter 3 will introduce the mechanics that were introduced with the Conqueror in SS1, but it's not the Raider storyline. So the Raider storyline, the only way we're going to port that forward is if we can get all the voice actors back and get the final story written. So fortunately, I've had enough conversations with the lead writer before he bailed to know where the story was going. There's just a lot of like little nitty-gritty details that need to get filled out in it. So, you know, if I can pair up with the right writers and get that sorted out, and I can get the voice actors all to agree to do it, I know that, you know, several of us on the team would really like to see that story completed, because it seems like such a waste. We had such a deep story. It's many hours long. To just abandon that to SS1, which, like, you know, SS1 still works and there's nothing wrong with it, but SS2, you know, is enhanced on so many levels, especially on the interface level. Like, we've got the little icons and everything. There's so many enhancements in it that it would be a bummer to not bring Conqueror's Raider story forward. But if we do it, it'll be its own mod, and it'll just be a quest mod. It'll just be like the, you know, I don't know what we'll call it then, but it'll probably have Conqueror in the name so people who know, but it'll just be focused. It'll be exclusively a story mod. But all the mechanical stuff will be baked right into the 3.0 patch of Chapter 2, or of SS2. Warpig, GNN don't have all the materials to build the basement power. To get materials to build, you have to set up supply agreements with settlements that have surplus. So just use your logistics department to set up a bunch of supply agreements, and eventually you'll get it. If your numbers aren't updating correctly and that's not working, that's been hotfixed a few times, but I know for some people some people their HQ cell got reset somehow, and it caused like all that stuff to not work correctly. But a lot of that stuff should be addressed in a patch if you were having issues with it. If it's still not working for you, I would update. What I would do is anybody who's still to this day having trouble with scrap logistics, energy, anything like that in your HQ is to I think, let me check my patch notes. Give me just a second. So I have it might be in the next patch. I don't know if it's in today's patch or not. Does anybody know, did the quest fixes thing ended up in the last patch? There was like a little extra thing in the holotape. I can't remember if that was in the last patch or if that's something I have queued up for the next one. Let me see here, because now, like, I've had to slow down because I got too much family stuff going on to be doing this stuff, to do the daily hotfixes. So I'm like kind of on every 2 or 3 days right now. So I'm losing track of what stuff I've released and what stuff is just sitting on my local PC. So let me go to the patch notes page. And somebody probably has already answered it by now. Yeah, I don't see it in there. Let's see. Let's see. Quest fixes. Oh, no, it is in there. Okay, so in the 2.0F, if you're having energy troubles, there's a... Oh, I can just show you that. So, oh, I guess it'll only show up once I'm there. So if you're having energy troubles, what you want to do is... Or any of these type of troubles with HQ type stuff is you want to make sure you're on the 2.0F patch. Roll back to the save before you did... how to HQ quest, do it over again and see if everything stabilizes after that, because the hotfix should try and repair it. If it didn't already do it on your current save, then the best thing you can do is roll back to the start of that quest and do that over again, and then see if everything stabilizes after that. I think the number one issue I'm seeing people are having with their saves with HQ is it looks like there was some sort of bug with a spotlight script from the battle. For the big battle quest, and I think that was gumming up people's script data and then causing a lot of script lag, which was busting up the HQ quest. And I think I've got that fixed for the next patch with the spotlights, but I'm not sure. So some people have no trouble with it. I've seen how people have already, sent me information about the ending of chapter 2 and asked me questions about what's coming. And so I know that people have completed it, but I know a lot of other people are having trouble. That fix that will show up in the quest fixes under tools, that will help with an issue where not everybody at the start of How to HQ, when you first get into the HQ system and you go into command mode, if you don't see that you have 10 people there, then that's what that fix is for. It should make it so that those 10 people get assigned. And that's the number one issue with energy. The scrap materials is usually somewhat related. It's basically like your logistics department is showing no people or no connections. I had one person I worked with where I could get their save working by just reassigning the people to the logistics department, and then popping in and out of workshop mode, and it fixed it. But for them, that wouldn't work. So there's probably some mod conflicts out there we have got to figure out still. But this is why, like HQ, why we did it in stages, because it's such a complex system. Like we basically hijacked workshop mode and turned it into our own gameplay loop, and it's going to be a little while before we get all the kinks worked out of it. So, but once we do, then we can start getting into some of the really cool stuff, like we've got a disaster system planned where it becomes kind of like a little mini game thing where you can help your HQ deal with problems or assign them to deal with them themselves, to be more like almost like a staff simulator game, or like something like Dungeon Keeper or Evil Genius, those types of games. And then we've got like a bunch of research stuff that'll start impacting your settlements and whatnot. We got a lot of cool stuff planned for it. But first we got to get like the baseline down. If the base isn't working, then the rest of that stuff is irrelevant. So there's probably a lot of placeholder stuff in HQ for those of you guys who are learning it, who are like, this seems weird. Doesn't seem like it does anything. And that's probably because it's preparing for what's coming. So Yagi says, just check there's no camera film craftable. Okay. So then, if you don't mind putting that up in the Git, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I just jotted myself a quick little note. I just don't know if it's gonna be a good enough note. Let's keep going here. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody's. I just had another jump on there, but let's go. Johnny 2G, you wouldn't happen to know like a guide for people who want to mod, right? Have everything set up, guiding them, etc. Been modding, not making mods, like installing and such. For installing mods, I mean, I don't know how up to date they are, like with Vortex and everything, but Gopher and Gamer Poets both have multiple tutorials on installing mods and stuff. That would be where you'd want to go. I think those two guys would be who you'd look up on YouTube. So Gopher and Gamer Poets would be where I'd go. Let's see. Hey, Ruined. You probably said that 20 minutes ago. I'm so far behind in chat. Rourke, so what's the difference between the base caravan system and the SS2 caravan system? Basically, SS2 isolates all its resources. This was a part of a plan to stop SS2 from unbalancing the rest of the game by giving you so much junk. So now instead of just creating a ton of junk in your workbench, you can still get it if you create this type of plot, which is this type of building on the industrial plot. This is the junk gathering. This then will kind of do what the SS1 did. if you want to commit to that, but it will stall a lot of your other development if you do that. So it's like a, it's a risk reward system there. But the industrial plots all generate resources into we call the virtual pool. So that those numbers on the right, that's not resources you can get at. They're just available for the settlements to spend. And the SS2 caravan system shares those resources to other settlements, but it also does act as a vanilla caravan. Like, it should still share the scrap for building. It just doesn't work exactly the same way. Like with the vanilla caravan system, you can connect any settlement to any settlement regardless of distance. Ours is done automatically based on distance, so the caravan plots will connect to each other within a certain range, and that's the one big difference between ours. But they still do they should still be sharing the junk for you to build with between settlements with ours. But the vanilla settlement or the vanilla caravans do not share our virtual resources. The only way to get our virtual resources shared is with our caravan plots. I think IDEX is set up to work with our virtual system as well. So if you build his plots instead of the other caravan services, that should work. Excuse me. Anthony Curtis, will you all be adding like a weapons R&D and unique armors and some of things to the HQ? So that is one of the things where we probably won't add a ton of it ourselves, but we want to support. One of the dreams of HQ is to see people like making patches for mods. Like, imagine some high-tech sci-fi weapon mod, like something like the solar cannon thing, or maybe some of the ones from the Creation Club, where you got this high-end crazy weapon that doesn't exist in Fallout lore, where somebody could inject a project into the HQ system where it's like your settlers are, they have to first, develop fusion technology or redevelop some sort of alternate fusion technology, like microsize it, where you could give them a series of upgrades they have to do, and then it unlocks the ability to build this weapon. Like, that's the type of stuff I'd love to see in HQ, is like a way to immersify and add gameplay elements to where players can get like tech trees of anything, whether it be new settlement stuff, new HQ stuff for the character, or whatever. We have in HQ the core benefit to the player themselves is a system called labs. And if you build a lab, basically it puts a crafting workbench in there that lets you spend these virtual resources for your crafting. So it's a way to take advantage of all of the resources that are available in workshop mode. You can spend them on yourself. You can use them to upgrade your gear or craft chems or craft food, depending on the lab that you build. And even further, the labs, if you upgrade the labs, they let you bypass the perk requirements. So, there's a lot of cool stuff you can upgrade that require perks. Basically, you invest in your scientists at your HQ, get them to have the perks, and then when you use the lab, the perk requirements will go away while you're trying to upgrade certain stuff. That's one of the primary benefits of HQ to the player right now, and we'll be adding a lot more in the future. But I would love to see unique armors and weapons, but they would probably have to come from other mods taking advantage of our HQ injection, not us ourselves, because that would take up a lot of file size, and it takes a lot of work to make all that stuff. So, if somebody on the team, like Nihar, I know loves making weapons, wanted to do something like that in editing, we could make it part of SS2 Extended, but I would imagine they'd rather just release it as a solo thing, and then maybe a patch to inject it into HQ or whatever. Warpig, can you use SS2 in Vault 88? Yeah, you can use it in there. I would not use it as your main settlement for Jake to show up in. Like, I think I tried to block that because it causes all sorts of problems with the quests because your characters can't easily path back to Conquered where they need to. So I don't think that's a great move, but for just building plots in there, absolutely. Let's see here. As a Jev Warpclaw, in the future, could you mod the HQ to be in a different location other than GNN? That is something that I tried to leave the hooks in for, because we actually have some really cool cells coming in Chapter 3 that I thought it could be really cool to turn into HQs. But with how much work it took us to build HQ for GNN, I don't think we're going to ever do that again. I think the rest of the team would murder me if I tried to ask them to design another HQ. It's a lot of work. This is one of the things. It reminds me a lot of the building plan situation. Like, for our team to design enough variety in building plans for all the different plot types, we would get so burnt out. But by opening it up to the add-on pack community, like, it worked amazingly. Now there's literally thousands of building plans because people can take little niches that they love and go nuts with them. And that's what I'm hoping to happen with HQ, is that I hope, you know, certain designers, or those of you maybe who've never tried designing and want to take a crack at it, you know, you get inspired by the HQ system and you're just like, I'm going to build, you know, weapon labs for all these different room sizes, or I want to build a bunch of, you know, new room types that have never been seen before, and just flood HQ with options. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. And hopefully when people start playing around with the HQ system, you see that there's certain rooms you can end up, certain designs that can be used across multiple rooms. And that's because the rooms have the exact same shape and size. Is that likely what we'll do for any new cells we create that have a potential to be an HQ? We'll probably try and match some of those room sizes so that there can be reusability between those. And I would imagine anybody who designs a new HQ from scratch will probably do that too. They'll look at our HQ and be like, all right, what rooms shapes do they use a lot that we can steal? That way we can also reuse their building plans or all their designs for those rooms. Because it's HQ is super complicated, but super powerful too. And I think if we can get if enough add-on pack authors, or would be, I mean, like, this is another thing is, I had this conversation before SS2 launched, when we had a little preview of SS2 for existing mod authors, is like, if you watched how things played out when SS1 was released, because it's fertile ground and there's nobody doing it, if you're in it for the internet points, which a lot of us are, like, there's something about, you know, getting people, you know, cheering you on and giving those likes and endorsements and just like seeing those numbers. It's very, very addictive. And so, like, there's an opening after the toolkits come out where nobody's doing a particular thing. So, like, if you look at the first, you know, industrial add-on that came out, it got super popular, and it remained popular to this day because it was just the first one. And I imagine the same thing will happen with the new stuff with World Repop and HQ, is like, anybody who is excited about having a popular mod for this, they could embrace one of those things, go nuts with it, get real niche, and they would be popular forever because they were the first ones there. And I'm hoping the same thing happens with the HQ stuff in the World Repop, because they're really deep systems. Just need somebody who's inspired by them to go crazy with it. And I think we've made thanks to Pra, who's an awesome mod developer. He's got tons of mods available, but he does a lot of Xedit scripting tools for us, and he has outdone himself with some of the ones for Chapter 2 stuff. So it's real easy to make content for Chapter 2. Other than just there's like a learning curve. Let's see here. James Roden, can these special settlers be assigned as leaders? For example, could I make Carne Asada a leader for one? You can make anybody a leader just doing this. You just grab them in workshop mode. So let's see. Can we grab old Paul here? Old Paul. You grab them and you go assign them to the city planner's desk as if it's their job. And that will make them the leader. Now, if you want the leader cards, somebody has to have created those. And then you say, no, don't tear it down. So you just want to make them the leader. And now Paul is the leader. And I don't think he has a leader card set up. I'm pretty sure, and he certainly doesn't, because he's on our list of like, these would be some cool leader traits for him. When there are no leader cards, instead what happens is SS2 looks at the settler's highest stat, and then any new settlers that are spawned, like the new ones that come from the recruitment beacon, their stats will lean toward having that as their highest stat. So you could, like, if you're like, I want high endurance settlers because they're good against the disease and they make my food production higher, you find a settler with a high endurance, put them in charge, and then every new settler that shows up will lean toward having higher endurance than any other stat. So like that's the benefit you get for a leader if they don't have a leader card. And I don't know if any mod out there has created leader cards for our settlers or not, but I know it's long term, it's been in our plans. I just don't know when or if it's going to happen or not. Hopefully it does. Okay. Let's see. Hypno, will the Raider story get wrapped also in Chapter 3? It's not gonna happen as part of Chapter 3. If it happens, it'll be after Chapter 3. I don't know if it's gonna happen because we had some issues. The biggest one was that the lead writer of that story had to exit the mod. He just, real life took him away, and so we have the story, like, we have the outline done, but we don't have it finished, and it's been so long now, I don't know that we can get all the voice actors to commit to returning, and some of them, especially like some of the main characters, like I just wouldn't do it without them, and I'm not gonna. I can't imagine re-recording all their audio either. So it's like it's a maybe. it's a I would love it. This is like, that would be if I got to have all my dreams with SS2 come true before I decided to move on from Fallout 4. One of them would be to see the Conqueror story completed. I love that story. I thought it was so much fun. We had so much fun making it, and I hate having stuff out in the world unfinished. Hate it. And that's gonna, right now that's like a nagging thing of like, hey, you've got an incomplete story out there in the world that has no plans for being finished. Like, at least with SS2 story, I feel very confident we're going to get Chapter 3 done. We've got a very committed team, very creative and fun team. We all work well together, and I can't imagine any of them leaving before Chapter 3 gets finished either. Some of them might. Some of them are probably on burnout, but I think the core writers and the people who are responsible for bringing the quest together, I don't think that they could pull themselves away before this Chapter 3, because we've built up all this momentum to get this really cool story out there. But Conqueror unfortunately didn't quite make it, and maybe one day. Let's see. Carvok, I have a city at Sanctuary that only has named NPC you have added. I will release it as a city plan, but I'll have to maybe declutter it, as most people are dying to try using it. I don't know what you're talking about. If you mean you have, like, you've designed each of the buildings for those people, because if you release it, the people aren't part of the city plan, so I'm not sure what you're getting at. Yeah, Yogi, that's one of the things that the other part of the Conqueror story, I'm seeing no data on my screen. Okay, there we go. Excellent connection. All right, so one of the things that drives me nuts about Conqueror is, like, now that we got all these cool features for SS2, it almost feels like we're obligated to feature creep up the Conqueror story, and then that would make certain people involved be like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So, like, we're kind of like we're in a weird situation of, like, we can only get people to commit to so much work on certain projects, and understandably, like, some of this stuff is like a lot of work. So for certain people on our team, when we're doing chapter development, like at certain phases in it, it becomes like a full-time job for certain people for a certain amounts of time. And so, like, asking them to commit to that is a lot. And unfortunately, like, I know we have a great Patreon support, and a lot of you guys donate, and it's awesome, but it's not enough to pay anybody's salaries. And, like, even if there's like one person could have a salary off of it and probably live fine off of what we bring in every month. But then what about the other, 30 people who commit time every day to this? And then what about the dozens of people who commit little bits of time, or the voice actors? And, like, so it becomes unfair. So instead, all the money just, like, gets reinvested back in the mod. We just use it for server costs, and we buy equipment occasionally and stuff like that, because it's just, it doesn't work. So anyway, asking people to commit the equivalent of full-time job for months is just too much sometimes. So we have to, like, scale back some of our hopes and dreams. But yes, a Raider HQ would be, like, that would be amazing. But I don't think that's in the cards, just from the amount of work still left to finish the Conqueror story versus the amount of hours it would require then to do that as well. Like a Raider HQ would require not only all the work to build an HQ again, but all the design work too, because it would have to look totally different than a non-Raider HQ. Non-person ownable. We see repopulation Nuke World or Far Harbor. So that will be one of those things where we won't do it on the team, but the tools will be available for someone to release a patch to add it to those places. So, like, that's going to be part of the documentation in the add-on makers toolkit, is like how you could do another world space. So then, maybe somebody wants to do it to those locations, or maybe to like Point Lookout when it comes out, or maybe to the what's the New Vegas one we just got, I can't remember the name of it, where it's it's their like part of New Vegas already released in Fallout 4. Like, if somebody wanted to go add world repop to that and some settlements to that, they could. Like, I want to make sure there's tools out there for people to do it. It's just not something we're gonna do. Muse, how does SS2 interact with robot settlers? I see a bunch being unassigned for a while. SS2 doesn't care, like, robot settler or human settler, it makes no difference. I think robot settlers are straight up in this game. Robot settlers are better than people because of the food water thing. And it's an imbalance that it's always bugged me, but I don't have a good solution for it. One of the solutions I had thought about, and we might do for HQ, is to put a power requirement on them. So like basically swap out the food water requirement for power to try and make up for it, because their robot settlers are super unbalanced. But SS2 should treat them just like the base game does. Diesel Dave, is anyone having problems with autosave taking forever? Yes, that is a problem for a lot of folks. It is high on my priority list to deal with, but it is a super complicated problem that we have no leads on how to fix yet. So we're just in collecting research phase right now, trying to figure out why the hell that's happening. Z Games. Will Conqueror be added anyway to SS2? I think I've answered that like 6 times now, so I'll let other people answer in chat if that comes up again. I think I've told the Conqueror story enough times today. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, people who are bailing out, it's getting late, understand I'm probably going to do the same in the next 20 minutes or so. But this will all fully be posted up live, and then we'll also sometime next week have, maybe not right away next week because it's the holidays, but at some point we'll have a trimmed down version of this video with just the gameplay, like just from like 9 to 10 p.m. where it's just the gameplay as opposed to all this rambling of mine. Let's see. Z Games, can I force settlers to work weekends to provide me with TPS reports? Nice cover letters. So that's the, like, when we get to HQ stuff, I definitely want to like have interesting stuff that goes on depending on if you focus on a department. Like I love the idea of somebody turning their HQ into a bureaucracy with like heavy admin. Like I love the idea of having some deep pools of stuff to do. And that's one of the things we got to expand on HQ. We got to really like dig in with the kind of stuff you can do with each of the departments. And that'll come after we get all the gameplay stabilized. Like when we figure out why the cell resets for some people and make sure that the tutorial is playable and all the resources are stable, then I'm going to start. That'll be post-launch content where we start digging in and adding like tech trees and stuff to all the departments so that you can kind of turn your HQ, customize it the way you want, and make it feel like how you want to run your faction. And if you want to be a faction of paper pushers, then I want you to be able to do that. Let's see. Hypnopotamus, has there ever been any talk with you and Brando Man about making old world radio plots for your settlements? No, I have actually talked to Brando Man. I don't remember what it was about now. We had a conversation like years ago about something. I think I don't remember what it was. It was definitely, I had asked him something about radio. And I think it was because I've always had the dream of having a SS2 radio station. And I think I talked about him about joint producing one, and we never came to an ending on that conversation. So no, not exactly. I would love that's like another one of those dream features, like finishing Conqueror, of having I would love an SS2 DJ, where they commented on all of our quest content as you do it, the vanilla quest content, the DLC quest content, so that it felt like a fully incorporated DJ into the whole game, like our game, vanilla game, DLC. Because I always hated that like Travis doesn't comment on the DLC. Maybe he does a little, and I just haven't seen it yet. But you know, like if you play through all of Nuka World and you let the raiders have the run of the place, like you'll find little patrols of raiders just wandering around town with captives and stuff. And like that's the type of stuff Travis should be talking about. And I don't know if he does. Maybe somebody else knows that. But anyway, so I wanted like an all-encompassing DJ that talks about our big storyline, and also acknowledges the vanilla, not just one or the other. And so like if we did that, it would be a lot of work, first of all, but we would need a bunch of music too, and so, like the vanilla music might get tired. So might talk to Brandon Man again then to see what kind of music that of his is like open source and usable by everybody. Let's see. Jack Black, remnants of pre-war Chinese invading Boston and all discovered places could be Chinese settlement and they have to take them back. I mean, I think somebody did release that mod. I think somebody had released a Chinese communist faction for Conqueror, and you could if the way the Conqueror system worked, and one of the things I loved about the pre-build and I want to bring back, it's not going to be, won't work well with the SS2 storyline, but just as a feature for just sandbox gaming, was the pre-Conquer, where you get to like pick a list of factions, pick a list of settlements, and have them all start not only pre-built with cities, but also with factions in them that you could take over. Like that was a really cool part of Conqueror that I want to see come back. Oh, and I had the scroll bug again, so I lost my spot. All right. Red, riding off Conqueror question. If SS3 will have the mechanics of Conqueror, but not story, doesn't that mean we will see return of pre-built settlement options so we can conquer regardless? Oh, we were just talking about that. The pre-build is tricky because it like having a pre-build makes Jake's story make no sense, because the whole time he's talking about how you need to rebuild and like he's going to help and all this stuff. And if the whole world is built up, it makes no sense. So it would not make sense to have that baked into the base mod, but it might be like an ESL patch that turns it on. For people who just want to like sandbox and make up their own thing and are not interested in playing through the main SS2 story or don't care if it's unimmersive. So that's likely how we'll do the pre-build. It'll be like a ESL patch. Let's see, Mythor, can you get Nexus to make extra SS2 categories so plot pack is separate from the gazillion city plan issues? We used to have that, and they were trying to like streamline the layout of their categories. So instead, there's now tags. So if you go onto Nexus, let me see if I can get it up and show you. Let's see, mod categories, and then hopefully once I get some settlements 2 category, all the naked stuff will be gone, so I can put this on stream safely. So okay, so if you're on the Sim Settlements 2 category, right? And apologies anybody who sees I had a bunch of unread messages. I'm really I can only commit like a couple days a week to reading online messages because the pool gets so filled up. But if you go to this little green arrow here and do filters, you can do a tag, and there are tags for city plans and for, I think, add-on packs is how we call it. Yeah, add-on packs. And that should slim it out, because I remember I talked to some of the folks. I think I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not gonna name it. One of the guys at Nexus went through and tagged all of the ones that were already released for them, in case the mod authors didn't know about these tags. But everything should be tagged so that you can filter it and find just the city plans or just the add-on packs with buildings. So those of you who have an add-on pack released or are thinking about releasing one, make sure you put these tags on there, because that will help people find your stuff. Because yeah, there are a lot of city plans now in the SS2 category, because people have been going nuts on the city plan contest, which is awesome. But yeah, makes it a little harder to find the building packs. Hey Dell, how are you? Let's see. Emmanuel would Bethesda ever consider paying you guys? Not likely, because they know we'll do it for free. Hemoflag, do you hope to make more SS2 content after Chapter 3? I mean, I love this stuff. It's so much fun. The problem is the audience keeps shrinking every year. And there's a certain, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I've said this on stream before, but I'll say it again, of like, if you imagine creating something, like let's say you put 1,000 hours into something, and you released it and one person downloaded it, you'd be pretty upset, right? So just knowing that means there's some minimal threshold where we're going to get upset about the amount of hours we put in versus the amount of people downloading. So at some point, like we have to like exit. Like we have to just be like, there's not enough people who care about this stuff. Let's move on to a project where people care about it. Because part of this is there is a certain draw to having an audience. We got to have a certain amount. It helps with feedback. It's inspiring. Like it's nice to get nice messages of people liking your stuff. So there's a limit to where we just wouldn't find joy in creating anymore for that limit, or for that reason. But there's also the case of like a lot of the core team of Sim Settlements started in their college years, and we've been working on this so long they're now like working, and like they're like, hey, I'm spending too much time on this stuff, I got to focus on my career. So like at some point it's just like people got to move on, and rebuilding the camaraderie and the workflows and everything that we've built has taken us so long. Like doing that again with fresh people, I don't know if I got it in me or not. Like I need to be recharged and re-inspired. So like at some point we just need a new project, whether that be a new game to mod or make our own game or something. Like just at some point we need a new project just to like get ourselves re-inspired. And for some people, they need an opportunity to exit gracefully. So Sim Settlements 2 eventually has to come to an end. So it'll be probably Chapter 3, and then I'll focus on making sure that all of the content is as bug-free as possible, and that the community can take it from there. So it'll be like making sure there's full documentation available, all the source code is available to everybody. I've got the permissions set up in a way where people can release patches without having to get a hold of me first, and like, trying to like set the mod up to live the decades long that these games get of people keep playing them. I want to make sure that SS2 doesn't and SS1 don't become mods that just don't get played anymore. It's like, oh, no one can play that anymore because, you know, the author abandoned it. Like, I don't want it to get in that state. I want to make sure that this can live the life. And like if a Fallout 4 special edition comes out, I want to make sure that I'm available to upgrade it and everything. So like after SS, so the plans for post chapter 3 are, I'm really hoping we can do finish the Conqueror story and port that. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off because I'm only porting it if we can finish it. I don't want to, like, I hate already that it exists as an unfinished story. So I don't want to port it with people thinking like, oh, cool, a whole new story mod from King Ath, and then it just ends on nothing. Like, it doesn't even really end in a cliffhanger. Like, if you play through all of the Conqueror content, it just ends on just like a generic quest and is like, oh, that's it. And it feels very unsatisfying. And like, I don't want that with all we're doing with Jake's story. Like, we're doing all this effort to do these like chapter releases and make sure the stories end on a note that makes sense. And you had like kind of a little arc. I know obviously with chapter 1, it was like a big cliffhanger, but still we got the tutorial out there and like we told the little story of, you know, how you're going to rebuild and everything. So like, I want to make sure if we release more story content, it always kind of follows that pattern. It's like, it feels good as a content. And right now Conqueror does not fit that bill. So that would be my hope. And then beyond Conqueror porting, it would be just tightening up SS2 and making sure the community has everything they need to keep SS2 and SS1 living beyond my time with Fallout 4. Because eventually I'm going to have to break away. Let's see. Jan, oh great master of some settlement. What can I do if Aiden will not go to the Gunner's Vault? That was patched. That was fixed in a patch. If you complete the quest Disappearance of Jake Evans and you don't immediately get a quest called Runners and Gunners started, you're going to want to update to the latest version of SS2, roll back and do that Disappearance quest again. Something went wrong if the patch didn't kick in for you. Let's see. Red, when SS3 releases, will all characters be combined into one for PC release? Oh, I hope you mean chapter 3. We're definitely not talking about SS3 anytime soon. No, they will never be an all-in-one. That will never happen just because these were way too complicated. Like we almost, like the mod almost imploded when I tried to merge some of our early work into ss2.esm. There were some massive file problems that we had to deal with, and I don't want to go through that again. So I'm never going to merge them into an all-in-one. The best I can plan that I'm planning on is for console. I want to do a story-free version that'll be much tinier. It'll be like I'm not going to guess a size because I don't want people to get all excited about a size I can't deliver on. But it'll be substantially smaller because a large amount of the space in the mod files are voice files and outfits and like just support meshes and stuff like that. There's just and textures. So if we could cut it down to where it was just the building plans and the code to run everything, like they could get the mod a lot smaller, and that would be really useful for console players so that they could play with plots and city plans and then download a lot of other mods. Because right now for console players, they're basically committed to, if they want to do the full story, they have to do a dedicated SS2 playthrough with minimal other mods, which is a bummer for them. I'd like them to be able to have the mechanics without the story for when they're done with the story and they don't feel like playing it anymore. Let's see. Azaja Warpclap, could the HQ system be used to create a Legacy of the Dragon World player home? If somebody was so inclined to go crazy with that, they could. We have talked about doing like some museum-like mechanics, but we did a light museum in the Far Harbor ROTC's city plan. So there's a city plan in Rise of the Commonwealth in Longfellow's cabin that once you get it to level 1 or level 2, it starts reacting to your Far Harbor quests, and it was a ton of work. And so like the idea of expanding that to the full game, like you can see why Legacy of the Dragonborn is so damn popular, because it's a lot of work and it was really awesome what they did. Somebody could do that with the HQ system. I doubt we're going to do it. Because like I've already had thoughts of like, oh, it would be really cool if we had like a museum curator come in and have you start rebuilding the Museum of Freedom into a Museum of the Survivor, and like we could do a whole quest chain around that. But that's like, you know, we've already gone outside the scope enough with a lot of stuff like the Concord characters. And I like doing it a little. Like I liked that we did this with the Jammer storyline of like I always call it backfilling content. We kind of make it a little bit wider at the beginning. And the goal of that is mostly to show people what's possible and hopefully inspire other mod authors to do similar stuff. So like with Conquered, with all those NPCs, it was like, okay, hopefully we show them how to do this, we do this, and then maybe some other mod team's like, I want to do that to Lexington, or I want to do that to Quincy, or some other town in Fallout 4 where, you know, as you progress in the game, people start moving into an area, give you quests, and you meet more of them. I love that idea, and I think it's really fun to have it tied to the player building settlements, because then it feels like, okay, the player's making an effort to rebuild, the world's reacting, and more people who care about their lives and want to get them back in order are doing so. I think this is a really fun gameplay loop. It's something that like I'm going to be obsessed with for a long time. Like if I do another mod, like if I could mod for Starfield or if I did a game, I think it would be in that same vein. I think this idea of having like a world that reacts and people show up who care because of things you're doing, I think it feels really, really good. And I don't see enough of it in games. Like I know, you know, you're starting to see a lot of games like, Assassin's Creed do it now, and with their latest, the Viking one, and like Red Dead Redemption 2 did it, where you have like kind of the base camp you build up, and that inspires more characters to show up. It's kind of that idea. Like I really, really, really like that, and I want to build on it, and I want to build on it more with I like the mix of mechanics and characters. I think it's like there's an unlimited pool of stuff to dive into with that. That was totally off topic from Legacy of the Dragonborn. This is why I ramble and why I warned everyone to back off if they don't like rambling. Okay. Jack Black should add a corporate mod with stacking paperwork and Xerox machine. Yeah, you can go deep on that. There's actually we've got a lot of room designs in HQ that feel very much like you're building up an office, which is going to be, I think, fun for some people, especially to expand on. That's actually what I really am excited to get the add-on toolkit out, because I want to see people like they see a little glimpse of what HQ could be, if like, oh, what if we took that theme and put it through the whole facility and we did designs for all the rooms for that. Like it could be really fun to see the different combinations. Some of the stuff we have for chapter 3 planned for HQ, I think is going to take it to the next level with that, where people can really feel like they're building out their like dream faction headquarters. Like to me, what HQ represents is, you think about something like the Institute and how it's got a very certain style to it, and it's got to focus on certain things of like you being able to be like, well, what does my faction care about, and like what are we going to put where, and how are we going to make it feel, and what technology level are we going to have, and what are our values, like what do we promote and what do we hate, and like letting people express that in HQ. That's what I want to see. And it's like we got a long way to get there, but I hope we'll get there, and I think with the help of add-on packs we'll be able to get to something like that. Let's see. Godzilla, any chance there is a plot specifically for the player, maybe an option for a companion? I believe there are player home designs. There were for SS1. I don't know if there are any in chapter, if there's been any release for SS2 or not. Somebody else could answer that. I'm not, if you guys haven't seen my load order, I'm not using any add-on packs, not because I don't like them. I love a lot of the add-on packs, but because I just don't want to introduce extra wild cards that could be causing conflicts or anything. I just want to keep this, like, for my Let's Play, super simple load order, so when I run into bugs like I did earlier tonight, that I'll be able to just like load up my save, trace out some information and be like, oh, that's what caused it, and fix it, and I don't have to worry about any mods intercepting. Let's see here. Kane, have you considered just rebooting Conqueror, or is that hard? No, regardless if you destroy, would you do chapter like it's destroyed? Rebooting, no, there's no way that's going to happen. It's just because, like I said, there's the amount of hours that are required to do a lot of this stuff is just it's so much. It's like I said, for a couple people on the team, it becomes a full-time job for short periods of time. And so like, and everybody, I think everybody wants to see this stuff completed, and then they just want to be like, okay, I did this amazing project. Feels good that it's complete. Now I'm ready for something new. I think anybody who creates can understand that. It's like, you can only work on the same thing for so long. I actually think that's one of the genius things about Bethesda's dev cycle, even though it's kind of like seems like business suicide. The fact that they have like 10 years between their franchise entries is insane from a business perspective, but from a creative perspective, it makes total sense. You give me 10 years off of anything, and I'm super jonesing for it. Like I'm on the verge of I think I'm 6 years clean of Magic the Gathering, and I guarantee you, give me 3 or 4 more years, I'm gonna be jonesing. I'm gonna be like, give me the latest stuff. Spend way too much money trying to catch up to the latest standard environment, and I'm gonna be at tournaments, because that's just what happens. Like when you're into something, if you take a break from a while, what is it? The absence makes the heart go fonder. Let's see. Ryanal Gaming, would there be a Sim Settlements 3? I mean, there will. We got to distinguish here. Some people have called Chapter 3 Sim Settlements 3. There will be a Chapter 3, 100%. Unless like somebody die. Like if Sarik, if you die, we're not doing Chapter 3. Because I don't have it in me to figure out what you were going to do with that. But please don't die. Sim Settlements 3, if there's a Sim Settlements 3, it's not going to be in Fallout 4. I'll just say that. It'll be like in Starfield, or it'll be its own game, or be in TES 6, I don't know, but it's not going to be in Fallout 4. Like SS2, the only reason SS2 even exists was because we learned so much from SS1, where I was like, this code is, pardon my French, dog shit, and needs to go away, needs to burn in a fire, and I needed to start over. And it gave me an opportunity to just fix a lot of other little problems and expand on the gameplay, etc. So the Sim Settlements 3, if it happens, is not going to be in Fallout 4. Chapter 3 will happen, and it's going to be in Fallout 4. Let's see. If Elder Scrolls next game has settlement systems, would you want to dive into that? I might. I really like TES. I hate Elder Scrolls Online, but I only played it when it first came out. Maybe it's better because a lot of people like it now, but I've played a lot of Skyrim in my life. I have not modded it heavily. Like I've booted up the CK and made stupid little mods for fun. Like, you know, I missed having a mud crab with infinite money in Morrowind, and I created that for myself at some point. But you know, I haven't done a ton of TES modding, but that would interest me. I like that series a lot. I just like the Bethesda style of game. It's kind of like it's a really good open world with lots of deep characters, and it's a god simulator. Like eventually you become godlike, and I think that is why they have to be single player games. I think this is why 76 did not, like, it was such a, let's not get into 76 stuff. I think it's a decent game now. It's just not a Bethesda game to me. Because I think one of the most important parts of Bethesda games is that you get to eventually become god tier. I think that is actually a key part of those, but that's just my opinion. Let's see. And Oz Lad, should I download Chapter 2 before I've completed Chapter 1? I mean, yeah, I would, because we backfilled a lot of the Chapter 2. Some of this, although, yeah, you should. You should definitely, because a lot of the new content in Chapter 2 starts appearing during the Chapter 1 stuff. We'd call this backfilling. You'll see more stuff earlier if you have Chapter 2 installed before you've played all through Chapter 1. Let's see. El Churullo, are you looking forward to Starfield? And if it's very mod friendly, do you anticipate getting involved in mod projects of the game? I am very much looking for Starfield only after I saw the concept art. Before that, I was like, well, I'm interested because it's a Bethesda game that will, you know, they're saying in conversations, like Todd Howard is saying that it's going to feel like, you know, a single player exploration game. I love those. I can't get enough of them. And especially if whatever Bethesda's formula feels like I feel like no one else has got it. I don't ever get the same feel in any other game franchise that I do when I start a new character in a Bethesda game, and that they all have this moment where you get into the world and you're just free, you know, whether it's like emerging from a vault or, you know, like getting out of Helgen. Like you get this moment where you're given this grand vista and it's unlimited possibilities, and that those moments feel amazing. And I can't, and I'm sure that's going to be in Starfield 2. There's going to be a moment like that, but then seeing all the concept art and seeing that they're like going more for a Star Wars vibe, where it's, you know, like alien planets of different styles and stuff, like that got me way more excited than I love Mass Effect, but it feels like it's all the same. It's a lot of the same environment everywhere. Like it's all this like sterile plastic and metal everywhere, and like that would not be super fun to explore Bethesda style. Whereas like Star Wars with all its different environments seems great for that. So I'm very excited about Starfield. Will I mod it? I don't know, because there's I love modding. I love it a lot, but we've gotten to the point now. We talked about this on the team, and we've gotten to the point now where we're getting quality levels so much higher than we should be able to. We've been so lucky with voice talent. And some of the artists on our teams and some of the writers and how creative they've gotten and built up their skills, that we're like getting to a level where we're like on the verge of, I don't want to sound conceited, but we're getting like some of our content, like I think a lot of you guys would agree, is as good as anything Bethesda has in the game. Like, we've got some really great story moments, and like they feel supernatural and they feel super integrated, and the voice acting is on point. We're getting to the point where, like, the idea of I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to doing lesser content. Like, if you look at some of the like early quest stuff we stuck in SS1, it's trash tier compared to what we've done in SS2. I mean, I don't want to go back to that, and that's kind of what would happen if we reset in modding. So the only way to go forward, really, in a new environment is kind of to try and go pro with it, but that is terrifying in its own way, because then you got money. You got money involved in things which can break the magic. So it's really hard to say where we're going or what we're going to do. I just know that, like, I now want to be doing, I don't want to say AAA, because I feel like that's kind of a negative term, but I want to be doing like really high quality stuff, and I want like to set the standards really high, and that's hard to do in a fresh environment. Is all I'll say on that. So I don't know what's next. I don't know if modding Starfield's next. I can say definitively I am very excited for Starfield, to the point where I'm going to try and arrange development of Chapter 3 in patches so that I have like 3 or 4 weeks there I'm not expected to do anything on SS, so I can just play Starfield and grind it out like a fresh game and get real excited about it. And, you know, find myself up till 6 in the morning the first night, just unable to put the controller down. I'm looking very much forward to that. Red, it seems like you give players choices to be kind of evil in chapters so far. Do you have any plans for to be full evil? I doubt we'll ever get to full evil. But maybe so there's some features coming in chapter 3 that we've discussed briefly, and we've got like some notes on them, but we haven't talked about how deep to go on them, because a lot of it's going to come down to production time. We haven't had our chapter 3 production meetings yet to start to determine timetables and stuff. But like, we have kind of an end game goal of like when we want to wrap chapter 3, and it's going to be how much content can we squeeze in there. And we have way more ideas than we can. So I don't know what's going to get cut and what's going to make it in. There have been talks of like, it would be cool to have, so like you've kind of recruited a cast of like core characters. It's those who've made it to HQ. You've got like our, your department heads, those are like your main cast of characters of like, we could keep letting you recruit more characters like that to interchange with those or to bring new things to the table. And we talked about how it'd be cool if we started to introduce some darker characters to that, but I just don't, they would be so hard to fit in with the current cast of characters, because we got a pretty friendly group so far, that it would be a writing challenge to do, and it might be too much work for the end result. So I don't know. It would be cool, just don't know if it's in the cards. Let's see. David Wallace, in chapter 2, when you go to Vault 81, is it possible to beat Cedric to the elevator? And if you do, it breaks the quest. If you go back up, he does not respond. Well, there's always going to be stuff like that, I think, in this mod, and there's like where you can, doing something like that, you can break the quest, and we'll try and fix some of that stuff, but some of it's just going to be like, all right, well, don't do that then. Like, don't race him. Yeah, so that's going to be one of those that'll probably sit like that for a while, and maybe we'll fix it eventually, but right now we're trying to fix stuff where it's like, you just do something innocuous, like press and there was a thing I think I fixed, again, I don't know if it's in 2.0F or in the next patch, but like, if you choose the robot expert perk during the Captain West encounter, it breaks the whole quest. Like, that's the priority right now. We want to get that stuff out of the way, where you can't just like accidentally break it easily. Like with something like this, that's probably going to get fixed, the racing Cedric, because yeah, that does feel somewhat innocuous, but it's easy to work around. And so is the robot expert in that sense, but I don't know. It's hard to explain the difference in what I think it has to do more with like how easy it is to fix. I'm trying to focus on the low hanging fruit right now, because it'll get people's saves moving forward. And I can then still have time for the holidays, because this is like a weird time right now where most of the people on the team are taking it easy, as they should. And I'm just trying to handle it all by myself. And so I'm focused on the easy stuff. Let's see. Discmaster, any experience with clean precombines? I have only recently learned about how precombines work when trying to fix the performance in Vault 75. And I don't even know if I pulled it off. Has anybody gone into Vault 75 since the 2.0F patch? Did I finally succeed? Is it decent now? But I know nothing about world precombines. I have no experience with it. I know it's hard. I know people struggle with it, especially with mod conflicts. All right, Kane, may seem really weird, but I like your disease system. Have you considered maybe adding a weapon that spreads disease like a real bioweapon that can affect, like Vault E1, for example? It has crossed my mind of like you could probably end up with some cool gameplay moments if you let this disease system spread to other NPCs, where it could like create some dynamic moments where, like, especially if you had death on, where just like random people were dropping dead. But I'm worried about just the consequences and the bugs that it could cause, so I opted not to it. I do have in the code a placeholder that doesn't work yet, but it's just like the idea of letting the player get infected with these diseases and then having to go find a cure or research the cure, or just deal with the consequences until the disease naturally goes away. But it's not enabled. I don't know if I'm going to enable it. Maybe I will. But yeah, I think that could be one of those like dynamic systems you release in the world where it could create some really interesting unplanned gameplay, but I'm afraid to open up that box because I got so many other stuff we're working on. So James, sorry to repeat my question. Is there any possibilities, no problem of course, that you could make a standalone SS game? Love content with the approach of I think that's what we were just talking about with the what we're gonna do after chapter 3. I don't know. Creating a game from scratch is really hard. It's hard on a lot of levels. It's hard to do at all, like just from the physical effort that it takes, but then to build up an audience. Suddenly, like, there's a lot of assets you have to create from scratch or buy and find, so it's expensive, and it's years of work. So I don't know. Maybe like it's gonna come down like whether if I pursue making a game from scratch. I think there's a lot that will go into such a decision. But I know one of the things I'm going to be doing after we like wind down some Settlements 2 development is I'm going to be studying machine learning like you can't believe, because it's something that I have fallen way behind on, and like my job is in tech and I need to be on the ball with this stuff. And that is one of those things that I need to be studying. And that is going to open up some doors because machine learning will help with dynamically creating content, which will help a small indie team compete. And like that is I think a requirement in the industry now. So that is going to be one of the things I'm going to do. How that plays out, I don't know. But I know when I learn best when I have a project to learn with. And so like, maybe I'll end up taking like, what can I do to Fallout 4 some settlements with machine learning while I'm studying it? And maybe that results in me creating dynamic city plan creation or something. I don't know. But I know that is going to be, and then like, so how that goes and what I learn from that might set the trajectory. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot. And it's not just me either. It's like, I've got a lot of people that I work with on some settlements now that they're like brothers and sisters to me now, like with how much time we spend together working on this stuff, that I want their opinion too. And I want to see what they want to do. And so it's like, it's not even a me question. And then there's also, I have family too. Like I've got a wife and 2 kids, and like, all of my decisions have to factor all this stuff in. So it's not an easy answer. Hammerflange, I remember old Paul saying something about a weapons shop before certain chapter 2 events occurred. Does he actually have a weapons shop plot you can build? That was something, I don't remember what we were going to do with that. It might have been one of those things where we were like, oh, maybe we'll patch it in later. I know the point of like, as far as what he was mentioning, the reason that we did that is to make sure he was on your mind. We had him hint at something so that you would be thinking about him. So that event you're talking about had more impact. And I hope it worked. I hope it kept it. Obviously you remembered it. So, but we may actually we might patch that in chapter 3 or with SS2 extended, because adding building plans is now a major commitment because of how tight Xbox space is. So it takes up a fair amount of room. So it's like now we have a lot of talks about whether a building plan is worth adding. One of them we added, which was super superfluous and didn't need to be added, was Franklin's. But I have wanted Tunuvia and Murmurakne's designs in the core mod for so long, because I love that we've got so much of the team started out as add-on pack authors. And we finally Tunuvia was willing to put some stuff in, and she designed this amazing building plan for Franklin that we shouldn't have put in because it's a big file, but it's so cool. And like Franklin's such an awesome character, and I just wanted some stuff with Tunuvia's name on it in the mod, because I feel like Like that is something that I have to do better with HQ and the repop system of like showing people's names in the game so that it feels like a community built project. I love that so much, and I love that we've got building plans from like probably I want to say like the first probably 10, maybe not that many, first 5, 6 or 7 people who released building plans for some settlements have a building plan in SS2, which I think is really awesome. Tunuvia was one of the people we were lacking, and so she did some building plans, including that one. But anyway, so totally off the rails there. But the building plan for Old Paul maybe come. I don't remember all exactly of what the options were. We definitely had plans for backfilling or adding in something in chapter 3 where you get a payoff to that, but it was actually before we even worried about what you were going to get. The point was he needs to hint at something so that you think about him. Yeah, Sandy, the stealing so you get hostile is a bummer, but nice thing. One of the interesting things they did with Fallout 4 is everybody forgets your sins after 24 hours. So if you ever accidentally shoot somebody or steal something, you just run away and sleep a day, come back, and it's all good. Land cars. I'd say I burned out on Fallout 4 because there's a lot of things I wanted fixed in it, but I don't have full knowledge to do so. This is to allow me to have a factory town. Yeah, you can absolutely. One of the reasons we added the caravan plot is so that people can just full focus their settlements, where it's just like, this is going to be my dedicated power town, or it's going to be my dedicated scrap town, or whatever. So you can hyper focus for sure. Excuse me. Fresh Brew J, would you be flattered to see Bethesda adopt some of your ideas in their future games? Heck yes. I would love to see like plots show up in Starfield. That would make my day. I'd be totally happy with that. And I would not be upset about it at all, because there's a lot of work to do this. Like, I did it because I wanted to play it. I wanted to see it. I didn't want to do the work, but now I'm committed to doing the work. If they take the ideas, great. I mean, that's the thing with game development. Is it's everybody just stealing each other's ideas. Like every game now, there's no unique ideas coming out in games. Like everybody's just stealing stuff. Like one of the games I've fallen in love with lately, and I just sent a copy to a couple people because I liked it so much, was Forgotten City. And I happened to watch a video today from Game Maker's Toolkit analyzing that, and he was talking about how it sounds like Outer Wilds and I can't remember the other games he mentioned, but he mentioned like 3 other games, and he's like, but this actually predates all of them because it was a mod for Skyrim before. That it's just like, I mean, that's the thing, is like game dev is just iterating on ideas and trying to find, like, pick out all the different gameplay ideas people have come with and like mixing and matching them and creating new things out of it. So I think open world games, I think their next frontier is systems. I think it's going to be stuff, not necessarily like plots or whatever, but like of having the world evolve based on your actions. I think that's like, instead of just characters reacting, having the world react. I think that's like the next evolution, because we got the tech for it now. I mean, I'm making Fallout 4's rickety old engine do this stuff. So like, you know, modern engines should be able to do 10 times what we're doing. And I think I would love to see big game companies take these ideas and run with them, because they're going to do a better job than I can, because we got a small team. And all the ideas end up filtering through me. So, you know, it's one guy's filter managing all this stuff instead of a team of hundreds of developers. Like, they're going to be able to do cooler stuff with it. They'll probably limit some of it and they'll streamline, and then we can mod back in the depth. But yeah, we'd love to see what they did with it. I think it's the same way if you look at they say Bethesda stole the Frontier Settler or whatever it was, the New Vegas mod, and that's what workshop mode is, basically exactly that, but it's way more polished. It's like built right into the engine. It's a lot snappier. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see what Bethesda did with some of the Sim Settlements mechanics and like integrating them into the engine and making it tighter. Like, that'd be great. Let's see. In Ozlad, I know that this is for chapter 2, but I'm forgetful. I wanted to know, how long in real time does it take for industrial plots to generate scrap and building materials? It's every 24 hours. It's supposed to be. Oh, I certainly hope if it's taken longer than that, then there's some probably serious script lag going on. Flamin' Hot Nitos. What's harder than mod? Is it modding or managing a team? Now it's managing a team is way harder. There are certain issues to the modding that's complicated, like this stupid long save file issue where it's just it's so far out of what I'm used to that I don't even know where to start. And it's can be frustrating, but for me anyway, I've been modding Fallout 4. Like, the amount of hours I have in it is crazy. So it's just like breathing now. I can just do this stuff in my sleep. I write scripts for people on the team all the time in minutes, because I've spent way too many hours doing this stuff. So it's easy now. Like, modding itself is easy now. It's just man hours, more than difficulty. There's things like we have to try and figure out. Like, I know Nihar and I have been bashing our heads against the some of the animation stuff. With the labs in HQ and not having a lot of luck. So some of that can be hard, but a lot of it's hard because there's no documentation more than anything else. You just got to be willing to keep testing things. Let's see. Emmanuel, there's a hard Xbox limit of 2 gigs of the most amount of mods you can download. So unfortunately, to play Chapter 2, you pretty much gotta disable all your other mods and download just SS2 and Chapter 2 and a Workshop Framework and maybe a couple other small mods. It's because we take up so much space. Let's see. Ken Ross, question unrelated to SS. Have we ever had a chance to meet you on your channel? Listen to you and a lot of your wishes the past year or so. I wonder if you want what you look like. No, I am not. I love the anonymity of the internet. I always have, and I don't intend on breaking that anytime soon. If something happens, like if I start up a studio or, end up having like a deeper relationship with Bethesda and like it would start to get awkward to not show my face, I will. I'm not against it. But like, I feel there's no need to. And my wife is not a gamer at all. She's like a super, just like mainstream normie, not nerdy at all. And so she hears horror stories of like swatting and she just thinks that's going to happen to me. So she's like, you got to keep all your information private. And I have no objection to that. So I think, her fear outweighs any benefit I would gain from a face reveal. Also, I think once I reveal that I don't look like Sturgis, you guys are all going to be really upset. So might as well not face reveal. Lancars, do you know if any of the CC items create script lag? I'm not to my knowledge. I know there was a problem with what's that mod? Settlement Defense Kit, where when you use the cameras, it would cause like this bug out, but they patched that out. Drafoni, is there a reason that intentionally incompatible? No, it's not incompatible with those. It is, so what we did to make sure that it could still work with those is I added a hijack system into the holotape, and you can disable our doors. So it was just like, we just chose locations arbitrarily, because we don't, most of us who are on the core development team, we don't play mods. Like, we just build mods. We've fallen more in love with building than playing. So we don't play all the other mods. Like, we were aware of them. And I knew when Depravity came out and I knew what we had planned for SS2, it was like, crap, that's going to interfere. But we had a plan for it. And that's, if you go into the holotape under tools and hijack, you can disable and then re-enable our doors. So you can like disable them temporarily, go do the quest for another mod, then re-enable ours, do our quests or whatever you need to do. So you always have access to them all. And somebody already patched the gun for hire doors to move either theirs or ours. So there's a patch already available for that. Depravity is always going to be awkward though, because they have you destroy a location that's like clutch to our story. There's not, to me, that's just like not necessarily compatibility. It's just like a story choice you have to make. Like, all right, what does my character care about? Is he going to do this or that? And like, you've had those. It's the same thing. Like, you have to choose between Institute or Brotherhood, right? You can't. You get destroy one. You destroy one and keep the other. It's kind of like that. Let's see. If you got hired by Bethesda, what would happen? Well, I'm not looking to get hired by Bethesda. I don't think that they would want to pay me what I make at my current job, because I don't know if you've looked at the salaries of game devs, but they're very low for the amount of work that people have to do in that industry. It's a broken system they got going on, and part of that is because a lot of that work gets outsourced to countries where pay is less. So then you can make more money in the U.S. working in corporate, which is what I've done. And so like, built up a lifestyle that would be very difficult with my family. It would be very hard to roll back to. I don't know that I'll be working for Bethesda anytime soon. I will partner with them for things like, if they had something they wanted to do me as an outside contractor, I could be interested in that, but who knows? But if you missed it earlier, what I was saying about what I want to do with SS long term is make sure that after we've done creating the content we want, that I want to leave the Sim Settlements mods in a state that they can be maintained by the community if I am done with Fallout 4. So like make sure all the source code's available, permissions are set up in a way people can release patches, stuff like that. I definitely am going to make sure SS can live a long life beyond me. James, is there any way to streamline mod sizes by somehow streaming things like the voice line? So instead of having it as a file, it preloads it from online. I mean, you could probably rig that up with F4SE on PC, but there's no way to do that on Xbox. Chris McLam, is there a script time profiling tool that exists for diagnosing script lag? I know SKK has something that does it in game. I have no idea how it works mechanically. And then yeah, beyond that, I'm not aware of anything. No, there's a script profiling tool you can enable within your mod. Like I can, in a script, I can say like start debug profile and then run it and then turn it off again. And then I can analyze that. And like we've done that to optimize a lot of code. And that's very helpful, but it doesn't work. It's not for players. It's like for the coder of a specific mod to use. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I think I finally caught up to chat. It is almost 1 a.m. for me, and I got to get up early. So I'll answer this last question, and then I'm out for the night. So it was a fun first stream. Bummer we got stopped on the gameplay just an hour in, but it was also good because we hit a bug a lot of people have complained about, and I would like that thing fixed. But Wicked One, if you could edit any of the other Fallout systems, what would it be and why? Other Fallout systems to edit? I would edit the inventory system. I don't know what I would do to it, but I hate almost every video game inventory system that exists, and I would try and invent something new. Don't know what it would be, but I hate inventory systems, and I think someone needs to fix them. I don't know how you fix them, because like a lot of games fix them by just getting rid of them. You know, like a lot of games now even go to just like getting rid of ammunition altogether or making it like types. You know, you see like the Destiny style where you've got the 3 different ammo types or 2 different ammo types. I don't remember. And then like Doom kind of does that where you're just like eliminating the inventory management altogether. I feel like there's got to be some middle ground where you've got a minor amount of inventory management and not something crazy. Like I hate Fallouts with a passion. Skyrim, same thing. It's just a big menu. It's a mess. But I also hate like DayZ's inventory system because it's so slow. Like I don't want to deal with that. So I don't know what but inventory system would be something I would like to attack of Fallouts. But I just don't know what I would do. I just know I don't like the current situation. All right, guys. I'm going to take off, and this whole stream will be posted live, or will be posted right after the stream, assuming YouTube does it automatically. If they need me to do something, that's going to have to wait till tomorrow. And then the edited version with just the gameplay will go out probably sometime next week. And otherwise, I will catch you guys all next Wednesday. If you're waiting on hotfix patches, those will probably... I might get one out tomorrow. Otherwise, it'll be after the holidays. So I'm going to be out of town for Christmas and the day after. So it'll probably be like the 27th will be the next hotfix, if not tomorrow. All right, guys. Take care. Enjoy the mods.